Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. Salty Fish Mentor. All my students are world-destroying genius. Chapter 41. Director La, this must be what you call Zhang Hidong too, you typed it out. Yi Ran was a little speechless holding the photo. The value of 1012, the broken robot, the familiar practice room. Isn't this Wang Dakan typed it out? Le Wanyi nodded seriously. As a mentor, I believe you can see that, with only 1012 values, it can produce such an effect. The energy efficiency must be at least 70%. Seeing Yi Ran not speaking, Le Wanyi continued. Shocked, to be honest, when I first saw it, I was just like you now, unable to say a word for a long time. I didn't expect that such a monster would appear in our freshman year. Yes, monster, indeed a monster. Yi Ran echoed absent-mindedly, with a slight twitch at the corner of his mouth. I don't know which class this monster is from. He hasn't shown his true colors yet. To be honest, Wang Xiaoman and I have after checking for almost half a month, there is still no news. Le Wanyi took a sip of water and continued, it's like he disappeared out of thin air. Since the amazing move in the practice room, there has been no other action by this evil genius. It shouldn't be the case. After all, it's hard for a genius to cover up his own brilliance. Le Wanyi said in confusion. Yi Ran looked at Le Wanyi with a complicated expression on his face. Are you sure you really checked it carefully for half a month? Why would I lie to you? Wang Xiaoman and I check the entry and exit records and monitoring data during practice every day, especially for the top-ranked classes. We even do it. I check the student's status every day, but this genius really seemed to have disappeared and could not be found at all. Is that so? Yi Ran responded to Le Wanyi perfunctorily. You deserve to be unable to find it, the direction was wrong from the beginning. Since the instruction in the practice room, Wang Dakan never went to the practice room again, and he insisted on his 30 jin raw meat plan every day with great pain. You didn't go to the cafeteria to find it, but went to the practice room to find it, so of course you couldn't find it. Looking at Yi Ran's absent-mindedness, he was not shocked at all. Le Wanyi was a little unconvinced and threw out another bombshell. Do you remember a month ago when the masters came to the supplies department? Things. Yi Ran nodded. Of course I remember. That day caused quite a stir. I heard that our principal took action. Le Wanyi smiled mysteriously. Then do you know why these masters gathered in our material department? Quote. Is it for that Zhang Hidong too? Quote. Le Enjing nodded. Yes, it's for that genius. After all, which diamond-level master doesn't want to accept a super genius who has no master as his own disciple? If the principal hadn't stopped it at that time, I guess the group of old men at the door of the material department would have fought. Quote. Listening to Le Wanyi's words, Yi Ran felt a little complicated. A group of diamond-level masters fought for Wang Dakan, and they were bloody. But Wang Dakan was a waste that no one wanted in the Magic City High Martial Arts Academy before. This kind of thing sounds really magical. Seeing Yi Ran's complicated expression, Le Enjing thought that Yi Ran was stunned by this incident, so she said with some pride. What do you think? I told you not to be too ambitious. Do you still want to get the first place? Just follow my plan and get a mid-level score, which is also a great success. Yi Ran looked at Le Wanyi and said with certainty. Originally, I didn't have a plan, but after hearing what you said. Speaking of this, Yi Ran paused, raised the corners of his mouth slightly, and showed an extremely confident smile. I am more convinced that our class will get the first place in this final exam. Yi Ran's words made Le Wanyi completely stunned. She frowned. Why is it that every time I talk to Yi Ran, the script is not right? Yi Ran ignored her, and Le Wanyi continued to speak. So, Director Le must not let our class be deducted points for this assessment. If you want to punish me, punish me. Looking at Yi Ran, who was still as persistent as ever, Le Wanyi was a little angry for no reason. And spat softly. Idiot. Quote. Finally, Le Wanyi sat down and said to Yi Ran in a bad mood. Okay, I get it, but the punishment has been made public this time, and I can't take it back. Le Wanyi crossed her hands, thought for a moment, and continued to say to Yi Ran. How about this? During this final exam, I will specially set up a Best Improvement Award. As long as your class can get first place, it will just make up for the credits you were deducted this time. How about it? Quote. Listening to Lawani's words, Yiran nodded with satisfaction. Yiran, who was in a good mood, couldn't help hugging Lawani. It's a deal, you can't regret it, Director La, then I'll leave first. Quote. After saying that, Yiran left Lawani's office like a gust of wind, as if she was afraid that Lawani would regret and call her back. After Wang Xiaoman saw Yiran leave, she quietly walked in from the outer room of the office suite and said to Lawani. Master, is everything settled? However, Lawani couldn't hear Wang Xiaoman's question at this time. Her face turned slightly red, and she murmured to herself. He hugged me, he hugged me, he hugged me. Wang Xiaoman, who saw this scene, guessed the general idea in an instant. Wang Xiaoman silently stepped back a few steps, inadvertently took out a small notebook, and silently recorded the incident in her own small notebook. On May 24th, Yiran took the initiative to hug Lawani in Lawani's office. Lawani did not resist, and became crazy after leaving. The two made extremely smooth progress. Quote. After writing it, within a moment, a few words suddenly appeared on the small notebook. Did you kiss? Did you ask me clearly? Did you kiss? Quote. Sister, this is not a voice message. You said you would not interfere. Whatever you want. I don't care about you. If you can't make a pair for me, I will deal with you. After a while, the words on the small notebook suddenly disappeared, and finally a sentence appeared. You don't need to read the first few words. You did a good job. Come back and report again. Quote. Also, I have got the autographed photo of the singer Wang Lefei for you. I will ask someone to send it to you another day. Quote. After seeing this, Wang Xiaoman closed the book with satisfaction. Sorry, Master, for your good life, I, your disciple, will temporarily betray you. Also, I definitely did not betray you because I wanted some diva's autographed photo. Wang Xiaoman raised her head proudly while thinking. Little love spy, Wang Xiaoman, here I come. Xiaoman, what are you doing? After coming to her senses, Lawani had returned to her normal state, still as cold as ice. And the crazy look before, if they were judged as two different people. Ah, nothing, I like writing a diary recently. After saying that, Wang Xiaoman symbolically shook her notebook and put it away with a smile. Lawani looked at Wang Xiaoman and frowned slightly. Who would write a diary if they were serious people? But after all, it was a personal hobby, so she didn't go into it. She looked toward the window, watching Yiran leave, and muttered to herself. Xiaoman, do you think the hidden genius is in Yiran's class? After all, Lawani was very talented, although she was a little irrational in front of Yiran. But from the tone of Yiran's words, she had guessed some clues. Listening to Lawani's question, Wang Xiaoman was stunned for a moment, and then said. What? Impossible, Teacher Yi, judging from the origin of the students in their class, it should be impossible for such a genius to appear. Looking at Yiran's gradually disappearing back, Lawani also sat down, turning the pen thoughtfully. But in these few months, we have ruled out all possibilities, right? When all possibilities are ruled out, the only impossibility is the fact. Listening to Lawani's words, Wang Xiaoman thought for a long time and could not find a reason to refute. But this conclusion still made her unbelievable. She opened her mouth and said. It should be impossible. Quote. Lawani's eyes brightened slightly, and she looked up at Wang Xiaoman. Xiaoman, from today on, you don't need to monitor the other classes anymore. Focus on Yiran's class and tell me immediately if there is any new situation. Wang Xiaoman nodded after hearing Lawani's order. Okay, Master, I'll do it now. At this moment, in the classroom of Grade 1 Class 2, Yiran and Huang Dongdong, who was sitting in the last row, stared at each other. After a moment of silence, Huang Dongdong couldn't hold back and said. What's wrong, Teacher Yi? If you don't welcome me, I can leave now. Children of the rivers and lakes, happy to repay their debts. I, Huang Dongdong, don't take any bullying. Okay, you leave, Yiran said calmly. Huang Dongdong was stunned for a long time after hearing Yiran's words. Obviously, he didn't expect Yiran to answer so straightforwardly. For a moment, Huang Dongdong's stubborn temper came back. HMPH, I really misjudged you. I even sacrificed my life for your class. You are ungrateful. I'm leaving now. As he spoke, Huang Dongdong reached into the drawer and prepared to pack up his things and leave. Although there were only a few comic books, they were just given to him by Wang Dakan. Time passed by minute by minute. Huang Dongdong packed up the few comic books in the drawer more and more slowly. Yi Ran just watched Huang Dongdong pack up his things quietly without saying a word. Well, I'm really leaving. Please go ahead. I'm really leaving. Yeah. Looking at Yi Ran's attitude, Huang Dongdong felt a little embarrassed. He looked at Yi Ran unhappily. Why are you so stingy? What's wrong with me auditing your classes? After saying that, Huang Dongdong sat on the bench with a broken jar. You want me to leave? Hey, I won't leave. Your school doesn't stipulate that teachers are eligible to chase away auditors. I'm so angry that you'll die. Yi Ran looked at him playing tricks. Huang Dongdong, who was naughty, smiled and shook his head. Seeing this, Wang Dakan hurried to Yi Ran's side and whispered. Teacher Yi, Huang Dongdong saved me before and spoke up for our class. He is really a good person. Yi Ran waved his hand. I know it without you saying it. Then he squinted at Huang Dongdong and said with a smile. Of course you are welcome to come here to listen to the class, but I have a request. Hearing that Yi Ran agreed to his request to take classes here, Huang Dongdong's face was slightly relieved. But he still pretended to say to Yi Ran, just tell me if you have any requests. Yi Ran looked at Huang Dongdong and said. Really said. Of course you can come here to attend classes, but I don't want you to come here as an auditor. Huang Dongdong looked at Yi Ran in confusion. In addition to being an auditor, what other identity can I come here to attend classes? Yi Ran sat opposite Huang Dongdong, tapping the table with his fingers rhythmically. Of course, as a sect exchange student. After this, Wang Dakan on the side was stunned for a moment, and he looked at Huang Dongdong in disbelief. Dongdong, so you are from the sect organization. I always thought you were a fire-type awakened person. Huang Dongdong looked at Yi Ran, his eyes flickered, and said in a deep voice. Did you make a mistake? I don't have any sect. Before Huang Dongdong came out, Huo Wen had warned him not to use the name of the sect everywhere. But he never expected that he would be seen through by Yi Ran as soon as he arrived here. Seeing that Huang Dongdong refused to admit it, Yi Ran was not in a hurry. Everyone says that the firefighting skills are unparalleled, relying on one hand to control the fire with the heart, burning the heart furnace, but unfortunately. Yi Ran looked at Huang Dongdong's hand. The firefighting method is based on anger, anger hurts the liver, and she rushes to the 3 burners. All fire practitioners will have their right ring finger twitching unconsciously to some extent. As soon as Yi Ran finished speaking, the eyes of the people present looked directly at Huang Dongdong's right ring finger. And just saw Huang Dongdong's ring finger twitching unconsciously. Huang Dongdong quickly retracted his palm and looked at Yi Ran as if he was looking at a monster. Who on earth are you? Although their fire sect is famous. This fame is all due to the fact that the leader Huo Wen loves to stir up trouble and has won it alone. In fact, the fire sect is a single line sect, with only him and his master in total. Otherwise, the fire sect would not be located in the Magic City Academy. So outsiders have no way of knowing the operating characteristics and secrets of the firefighting skills. But Yi Ran in front of him, who doesn't look very old, can accurately tell the secrets of the firefighting skills. It's really incredible. Yi Ran listened to Huang Dongdong's questioning and smiled indifferently. It doesn't matter what kind of monster I am, what matters is that I can help you. What can you do to help me? After hearing this, Huang Dongdong sneered. Although their firefighting skills are a single-line sect, they are also top-level skills that have been passed down for thousands of years. At such a young age, Yi Ran wanted to teach him about martial arts. Huang Dongdong felt that Yi Ran was overestimating himself. Looking at the expression on Huang Dongdong's face, Yi Ran naturally knew what he was thinking. Really, who is that, who will be burned by the flames every night and can't fall asleep for a long time? When Yi Ran said this, Huang Dongdong was completely stunned, and the ring finger that had been controlled before began to twitch unconsciously again. This is not a problem. This is the tempering that our fire sect must go through. Huang Dongdong said stubbornly, holding his neck. But Wang Dakan beside him could feel Huang Dongdong's guilty tone. Seeing Huang Dongdong who refused to admit it, Yi Ran did not choose to expose it. He just turned around and left a sentence. Whether it is experience or defect, you know it in your heart. Dong Dong, I believe your master gave you this name with a certain meaning. Finally, Yi Ran turned his head and walked out of the door. If you want to solve it, go with me to apply for the identity of the sect exchange student, otherwise you are not allowed to attend the class. After Yi Ran finished speaking, he began to count silently in his heart. 1, 2, 3. Then a small figure appeared beside him. It was Huang Dongdong with a stubborn face. At this time, Huang Dongdong's mouth was raised high, his neck was stiff and he didn't look at Yi Ran, and there was grievance in his eyes. He was talented and eloquent. From childhood to adulthood, his master had never coerced him. But today he was forced to surrender by a little teacher who was not much older than him. Seeing Huang Dongdong, who was still stubborn despite being wronged, Yi Ran raised his mouth slightly, and he comforted her. Don't be so depressed, be happy, study here, I will help you refine the Samadhi true fire golden body. After hearing this, Huang Dongdong looked at Yi Ran with some fear, and couldn't speak for a long time. Samadhi true fire golden body is the most ideal qualification for fire practitioners, and it is also the goal pursued by fire sects of all generations. To complete the Samadhi true fire golden body, as the name suggests, you have to burn the whole body until the whole body is assimilated with the true fire, forming a state of affinity and perfection of fire attributes. Once the Samadhi true fire golden body is formed, then this person will become a true flame master, and practicing the fire method will be twice as effective with half the effort, and there is a great possibility of impacting the extraordinary. Even ordinary extraordinary people cannot resist it, and the power is at least above the city-destroying level. In the history of their fire sect for thousands of years, the only world-destroying level extraordinary person is the Samadhi true fire golden body. Of course, the prospect of this physique is so bright, which means that this physique is extremely difficult to cultivate. At least in the 1,000 years of the fire sect, there are only a handful of people who have cultivated it. Especially in the past 100 years, no one in the fire sect has achieved this achievement. When he was in the sect, Huo Wen thought about Huang Dongdong's tempering of the Samadhi true fire golden body every morning and night. Every day he whispered in Huang Dongdong's ear, Dongdong, you are the most qualified disciple our fire sect has received in the past 100 years. Dongdong, it is our duty to rebuild the glory of the fire sect. Dongdong, I am old, and I want to see you before I die. Accomplishing the Samadhi true fire golden body is also a sign of enlightenment. Huang Dongdong's ears are almost calloused after hearing such words. Unfortunately, it is too difficult to forge the Samadhi true fire golden body. Even if Huang Dongdong tried his best, he still couldn't fulfill the long-cherished wish of old man Huo Wen. Teacher Yi, do you know what you are talking about? Even my master can't think of a way to make Samadhi true fire golden body. Huang Dongdong stared at Yi Ran seriously. Yi Ran smiled. Others can't do it, but I may not be able to do it. Huang Dongdong narrowed his eyes. Are you so confident that you are better than my master? Hearing this, Yi Ran turned his head and looked at Huang Dongdong. You can also choose not to believe me, there is only one chance. Huang Dongdong looked at Yi Ran's eyes. Recalling the shocks that Yi Ran had brought to him before, he finally sighed. You won. But how the hell do you know everything? You are not my master's illegitimate son, right? Huang Dongdong looked at Yi Ran with a complicated expression. Bang! A crisp sound rang in Huang Dongdong's head. It was so fast that Huang Dongdong didn't react. It feels good, I won't do it again. Yi Ran narrowed his eyes and looked at Huang Dongdong. Huang Dongdong covered his forehead in pain, and looked up at Yi Ran with grievance. Then if I become a sect exchange student, can you really help me temper my golden body? Go ahead. Huang Dongdong pouted. People in the martial arts world keep their words. Yi Ran listened to Huang Dongdong's old-fashioned words, and the corners of his mouth rose slightly. A gentleman's word is as good as a horse. Hearing Yi Ran's promise, Huang Dongdong became a little excited. Then Teacher Yi, you should prepare your lessons well, and hand in your lessons. I won't bother you with the procedures for changing students, I can go by myself. After saying that, Huang Dongdong turned into a ball of fire and rushed towards the academic affairs office. Leaving a long afterimage, looking at Huang Dongdong's excited back, Yi Ran muttered to himself. helping to temper the golden body. I'm not kidnapping a child. Logically speaking, Huang Dongdong helped their class out of righteousness. Just asking for the status of an auditor, Yi Ran should agree. It's not that Yi Ran necessarily wants to embarrass Huang Dongdong, the only thing to blame is that Huang Dongdong is a little too attractive. At a young age, with a golden figure, and the inheritor of a 1,000-year-old sect. What is this? Isn't this a golden thug for the final exam? Final exam wants to get first place. Yi Ran has also carefully calculated that according to the current situation of their class, if he wants to get first place in the final exam class points, Yi Ran needs to get first place in both the individual and team battles in the final exam, and also get the points of the top 2 in the individual battle. Now according to Yi Ran's idea, with Wang Dakan and Zhang Xiaoru, there is already a 99% chance of hitting the first place. However, 99% is not 100% after all. Yi Ran seems to be not safe enough. There is no margin for error at all. So Yi Ran needs 3 people to hit the top 2 in the grade. When Yi Ran saw Huang Dongdong in the class for the first time, Yi Ran was sure, this is the last piece of his galaxy battleship map for the final exam. This is why there are all these dramas later code. Speaking of which, there are not many days left for the final exam. Yi Ran muttered to himself. Yi Ran raised his hand and glanced at his watch. It was indeed getting closer and closer. I don't know how Wang Dakan is practicing now. At this moment, in the school cafeteria, Wang Dakan looked at the bloody flesh in front of him with a painful face. This is the 42nd day he has eaten raw flesh. I really can't eat any more. But it's strange. Ordinary people will basically have epileptic seizures after eating bloody monster meat for a few days. Affected by the power of monsters. The serious ones may have lost consciousness and be admitted to the hospital. But I have eaten raw flesh for more than 40 years, not only is there nothing wrong. The strength is much greater than before. If I go to the practice room to test the robot again, Wang Dakan feels that he can at least break the robot's head with one punch. Not only that, his mind is extremely normal. There is no auditory hallucination or confusion at all. Although there are so many benefits, Wang Dakan is still a little worried. The reason is simple. This raw meat is really disgusting. It is rough and astringent, and there is a disgusting fishy smell. Now Wang Dakan, miss donuts, miss twice cooked pork, miss big plate chicken, miss lamb skewers. He misses the crystallization of all human food culture. While thinking, Wang Dakan unconsciously shed tears from the corners of his mouth. What are you thinking about? So devoted. Just when Wang Dakan entered the fantasy time, a voice came from behind. Yi, teacher Yi. Quote. Wang Dakan stood up hurriedly. Don't be so reserved, Dakan, sit down. Yi Ran sat opposite Wang Dakan. He looked at the blood and flesh piled in front of Dakan. And looked at Wang Dakan again, feeling a little distressed. You have suffered so much. Dakan. Quote. Dakan listened to Yi Ran's words, but didn't know what to say. He just touched the back of his head habitually and smiled. Through the system, Yi Ran could see clearly that Wang Dakan was not lazy at all. This progress was definitely in accordance with his daily 30 caddies of raw blood monster meat. You know, this is 30 caddies of raw blood meat every day. For more than 40 days. Even a real beast would have vomited after eating it. But Wang Dakan strictly followed it day after day. This kind of torture, I guess only Wang Dakan's honest character can persist. Yi Ran looked at Wang Dakan. Dakan, are you feeling a little nauseous and uncomfortable after eating? Quote. Wang Dakan heard Yi Ran's question and didn't hide it. Nodding. Teacher, this raw meat is indeed a bit unpalatable. As he spoke, Wang Dakan glanced at the raw meat, and the disgust in his eyes was almost overflowing. Yi Ran saw it. Now, even if Wang Dakan is honest, he is probably on the verge of collapse. In this case, why not use some strong medicine to speed up process? Dakan, follow me. Wang Dakan hurriedly followed Yi Ran after hearing his words. Teacher, where are we going? Think of a way to end the pain as soon as possible. Material department, warehouse. The pot-bellied Shu Yukai called his men to unload the goods. Be careful, be careful. How many times have I told you that you should handle the glazed porcelain and gold with care? Oh, it's a plop. How can you hold the wanchuntu with your bare hands? This is a painting by a superb painter. If you damage it, you will have to pay for it. Quote, I'm a curry gong. If you damage the scabbard of this sword, I will give it to you tomorrow. Go and file a casualty insurance claim. Quote, don't worry about this kid, I'll put him in my office later. Quote, Shu Yukai worked and shouted at the same time. Although he was sweating profusely from exhaustion, he was working very hard. He was very excited. As a miser, he really liked the feeling of moving things to his warehouse. To be honest, Shu Yukai sometimes felt that he was a hamster in his previous life. Director Shu, what should we do with the flesh and blood of these 3,000 black dragons? The porter walked up to Shu Yukai and asked him. Shu Yukai looked at the big box behind the porter. His face was flushed. He had a painful expression. This was the supplies he had promised Luwanyi to give to the freshmen in the academic affairs office. 3,000 black dragons' flesh and blood. It would probably only stay in his warehouse for one day before being shipped away. Thinking here, Shu Yukai's heart was bleeding. What can I do? Just leave it here and give it to Director La tomorrow. You still have to ask me, you idiot. But it's so valuable, there's no need to leave it here. Is it kept in a safe and kept fresh? Quote, it's not valuable at all. It's going to be sent away tomorrow, why put it in a safe? Quote, Shu Yukai turned his head away angrily, deliberately not looking at the big box. The farewell in their eyes is like a lover who has made up his mind to break up. By the way, please don't turn on the indoor surveillance for me, so as not to damage these paintings. But Director Shu, according to the regulations. You idiot, am I the director or are you the director? Oh, okay, Director Shu. After all the moving work was completed, Shu Yukai looked at the warehouse, which was filled with satisfaction, closed the door and left the warehouse. After Shu Yukai left, outside the warehouse door 2 black figures appeared. One large and one small, both wearing black tights and even hoods on their faces, quietly approaching the warehouse door. Teacher Yi, this is not good. The big guy looked at Yi Ran, who was walking in front of him, in embarrassment. Bang! Wang Dakin covered his forehead in pain. Shut up. I've said it so many times, when you're working, you have to call your position. Quote. Yi Ran looked at Wang Dakin unhappily, rubbed his fingers. Hard, indeed not as smart as Huang Dongdong. But, Mr. Yi. Brother thief saint, this is illegal. Yi Ran looked at Wang Dakin, who was standing there in a daze, unhappily. Just tell me, do you want to continue eating raw meat? Quote. Hearing this, Wang Dakin shook his head vigorously, with some fear in his eyes. He had the PTSD of eating raw meat. Then you choose, do a job tonight, or continue to eat for a few months. Yi Ran pointed at the warehouse, then pointed at Wang Dakin. Wang Dakin was silent for a moment. Brother thief saint, let me lead the way. Yi Ran nodded in satisfaction, which was quite reasonable. Wang Dakin walked in front, pointing at Yi Ran, twisting and turning. Brother thief saint, there is a hidden line for detection here, you need to jump. Brother thief saint, come here, here it's a surveillance blind spot. Brother thief, crawl along the wall. We'll conduct a search every minute. Brother thief, Yi Ran followed behind, his eyes revealing shocked. This professional quality, this superb evasion skills, every step can effectively avoid the monitoring equipment of the material department. In front of Wang Dakin, why do I feel that I am the rookie? Dakin, you are not qualified to tell me that it is illegal. Brother Daosheng, have you forgotten the agreement? You must refer to your position when you are working. Oh, Yi Ran was scolded, caught off guard. Wang Dakin, are you a little too professional? Looking at Yi Ran's shocked eyes, he smiled embarrassedly. Before, in order to save money to buy spirit stones, I like to find part-time jobs. The material department often recruits people to do hard labor. I have been here for almost a year in the past 2 years. Hearing Wang Dakin's words, Yi Ran put away his shock and felt a little bitter in his heart. As a teacher, Yi Ran knew exactly what Wang Dakin's situation was at that time. Even so, Wang Dakin did not choose to give up. This persistence is really amazing. With Wang Dakin's command, without triggering the slightest alarm, the two walked into the warehouse with ease. Brother Daosheng, we are at the warehouse. What are we looking for? Quote. Wang Dakin asked. Yi Ran looked at the warehouse full of things and curled his lips. The material department is really a dog-rich man. Then, he approached each box and began to rummage through the boxes. Find the raw meat of monsters they have stored. There must be the top monsters here. If you are lucky, you can end the pain by eating it once. Quote. Wang Dakan does eat raw meat of monsters according to the standard every day. But he is a student after all. The quality of raw meat of monsters he can buy is not very high. Either soft bone rabbit or swift wolf. Although it can meet the standard, it is indeed just barely meeting the standard. If he can find some A-level raw meat of monsters in the supply department, it will be much better than eating 100 meals of soft bone rabbits. Hearing Yi Ran's words, Wang Dakan's eyes lit up, and he began to search through the boxes and cabinets diligently. Yi Ran looked at the anxious Wang Dakan and couldn't help reminding. Don't be impatient. Although this is the outer warehouse of the warehouse, there is a high probability that there is raw meat of monsters above B level, and if you are lucky, you may even have a chance to find A level. Look slowly, don't damage the calligraphy and paintings in the supply department. Remember, we are the thief-saint combination, not the robber combination. Got it, brother thief-saint. Quote. Wang Dakan's eyes began to turn red, and his arms were smoking. What does it mean that there is motivation only when there is pressure? Seeing that he could solve his pain for dozens of days in one night, Wang Dakan was now more diligent than a cow plowing the field. After a while, Wang Dakan stared blankly at the huge wooden box. Yi, teacher Yi, how many times have I told you that you should be qualified when you work? Dao Shang, come and take a look at this. Yi Ran listened to Wang Dakan's call, and walked towards Wang Dakan. Why don't you look for raw meat quickly? Why are you staring at a big box? How can such a big box hold raw meat for you? When Yi Ran walked to Wang Dakan's side, and looked at the huge wooden box, his eyes were completely dull. Material department, is there so much money? Yi Ran and Wang Dakan stood in front of the huge wooden box in a daze. Inside the wooden box was the 3,000 black dragon flesh and blood that Shu Yukai had promised to give to Lawani. The flesh and blood was bright red, and the occasional black light contained unimaginable power, and the tangled muscles and flesh all showed the power of the flesh and blood owner. Let alone cultivators, even ordinary people standing here can also know that these flesh and blood are definitely not ordinary products. Wang Dakan looked at the flesh and blood in the box and swallowed his saliva. Teacher Yi, do you know what kind of meat this is? Yi Ran was also a little dazed when looking at the flesh and blood, and completely forgot about the title. As a member of the Yi family, how could he not know what kind of flesh and blood this is? He walked forward carefully to touch the flesh and blood, silently felt it for a moment, and said, This is the flesh and blood of Mo Long, a real S-level monster, one of the overlords among monsters. S-level. Hearing Yi Ran's words, Wang Dakan had difficulty breathing. I thought that getting the A-level monster flesh and blood would make a fortune. Who would have thought that he would be super lucky today? And actually found the S-level monster flesh and blood in an ordinary warehouse. While being shocked, Wang Dakan's eyes were full of confusion, and he said to himself, It shouldn't be like this is an S-level monster. Even if its flesh and blood are not valuable, it shouldn't be placed in an ordinary warehouse for no reason. Yi Ran also shook his head. Who knows, but it doesn't matter, it's just a bargain for us, come here. Oh, okay, teacher. Hearing Yi Ran's call, Wang Dakan ran over happily. Yi Ran pointed at the huge wooden box. Eat it. Oh, ah. Wang Dakan looked at Yi Ran, then looked at the wooden box that was about 20 times his size. Pointed at himself with his middle finger, me. Wang Dakan's eyes revealed clear stupidity. The facial features were almost twisted together, and the meaning of forcing someone to do something was almost overflowing. Letting himself eat the flesh and blood of the black dragon that was nearly 20 times larger than himself. Isn't this like asking a small horse to pull a big cart, asking an ant to ride an elephant, and asking Ben Borba to destroy Tang Monk and his disciples? However, Yi Ran seemed to not see Wang Dakan's embarrassment, and nodded seriously. Nonsense, it's not like I want to awaken again. Hurry up, if it's too late, we will both have to go to the school discipline group when the inspectors come. But, I really can't eat this. Wang Dakan was about to cry in anxiety. Eating 30 kilograms of raw meat a day was enough to make him sick. Now he was asked to eat such a big box. Even if he could eat it, his stomach would not agree. Yi Ran looked at Wang Dakan and patted him on the shoulder. Dakan, you have been eating raw meat for so long, haven't you noticed any changes in yourself? Wang Dakan was still confused after listening to Yi Ran's words. Looking at Wang Dakan, who was confused, Yi Ran encouraged him. Think hard and feel it carefully. Wang Dakan recalled. Since I have been eating for so many days, my stomach has grown bigger, I have grown taller, and I have more strength. What else? Looking at Yi Ran's expectant eyes, Wang Dakan hesitated for a moment. And I have started snoring when I sleep recently, and my farts are much louder than before. These are all possible. No need to say. Quote, Yi Ran looked at Wang Dakan in silence. Do you feel any other changes in your superpowers? Superpowers? You haven't tried to transform for so long. When you fought with those students in Han Kyun's class, you didn't feel anything. Wang Dakan thought carefully. It seems that I have some feelings. I feel that although I am still silver level, I feel that if I fight with those people one-on-one, except for the one surnamed Zhang, no one else is my opponent, and what? Feel it well and say it out. Wang Dakan looked at Yi Ran and touched his head in confusion. I don't know if I am an illusion. After the Yinhai transformed superpowers, I have an illusion that I want to bite off his neck and eat him. After saying that, Wang Dakan shook his head quickly. It must be an illusion. I must have fainted from anger at that time. How could I eat people? Quote. But the action of swallowing saliva in his Adam's apple still betrayed him. Yi Ran glanced at Wang Dakan and said seriously. Don't avoid this feeling. Your feeling is not wrong at all. You just want to eat it. Listening to Yi Ran's words, Wang Dakan was stunned, and then he shook his head in horror. But I'm really not a perverted killer. Yi Ran patted Wang Dakan on the shoulder and motioned him to calm down. Calm down, no one said you were a perverted killer. But master, didn't you just say that my feeling is not wrong? Master, is there something wrong with me? Wang Dakan was so anxious that he wanted to cry. Yi Ran continued. Do you remember what I said when I taught you before? Quote. I told you at that time that the devouring fierce pig you awakened contained some higher level blood. The suppression of that blood made it difficult for the devouring fierce pig to function. Speaking, Yi Ran pointed at Wang Dakan's mouth. And now, after so many days of flesh and blood nourishment, the superpower blood in your body is evolving towards that higher level beast. It is this evolution that makes you want to bite off your neck. Quote. But master, I can't have this impulse even if I evolve again. Yi Ran waved his hand and continued. Listen, your superpower evolution guides you not to want you to eat Yinhai, but to want you to eat the mutated beast on Yinhai. Quote. Think about it carefully. In addition to Yinhai giving you this impulse, did that Zhang family kid or anyone else give you this impulse? Quote. Hearing this, Wang Dakan slowly calmed down, and he recalled carefully. Except for Yinhai, it seems that other students did not give me this feeling. Oh, there is another person. Wang Dakan laughed innocently, and that fool Han Kyun. Speaking of this, even if Wang Dakan's brain was not very bright, he basically turned around. He also had feelings for Han Kyun. It must be because Han Kyun had the ability of an alienated beast. Seeing Wang Dakan's enlightenment, Yi Ran pointed to the huge wooden box. So, Dakan, try to open the ability with all your strength, and the beast in your body will naturally feel the charm of this S-level flesh and blood. The second awakening is just around the corner. Welcome it well, the glory that belongs to you alone. Quote. After hearing this, Wang Dakan began to gather his energy and concentrate his mind silently. Instantly, the ferocious red pig head appeared again. But this time, the red energy was even more enchanting. It looked as bright as blood. Like a blood mist, it began to spread. The young man was so hungry that he could not stand the heavy weight. Roar! A low roar came from Wang Dakan's huge pig head. Teacher Yi, I seem to be a little hungry. Wang Dakan said with difficulty, staring at the black dragon's flesh and blood without moving. Before Wang Dakan finished speaking, the clarity in his eyes disappeared. At this moment, Wang Dakan's pupils were red, his eyes were bloodshot, his mouth was slightly open, and in his low breathing, he could feel a primitive wildness. Roar. With Wang Daken's low roar, the appearance of the red swallowing pig began to change dramatically in an instant. The beast in Wang Daken's body was finally completely stimulated by the flesh and blood of the black dragon. At this time, Wang Daken's body has grown several times larger. The purple scales that originally covered Wang Daken's body have begun to turn red. Each piece is as hard as iron and as bright as jade, reflecting the light of blood. Wang Daken's forehead is broad, and his eyes are like burning charcoal, staring at the flesh and blood of the black dragon. The hot air from his nostrils is enough to form a small whirlwind, like the air outlet of a furnace. The most eye-catching thing is Wang Daken's mouth. When he opened it, it didn't look like human teeth, but a row of sharp teeth, each of which was like a sword, flashing cold light. Meat, flesh, Daken muttered to himself, and walked towards the wooden box driven by instinct. Every step made the whole warehouse tremble. Yi Ran looked at the monster Wang Daken had transformed into, his eyes revealing a gleam of brilliance. Finally awakened. This degree of completion is unexpectedly high. Through the system, Yi Ran has seen all the changes in Wang Daken. Wang Daken, male, 20 years old. Awakened by superpowers. Teodi incomplete S level. Current technique. Physical Training 2.0 revised version of Magic City High Martial Arts Academy. Advantages. S-level physical attributes, S-level combat talent, SS-level resistance to blows. Innate magical powers. Bloodthirsty and violent, swallowing the world, physical regeneration. Disadvantages. The secondary evolution is not complete, causing the subject to be unconscious and difficult to distinguish between enemies and friends. Guidance plan. Eat a large amount of raw meat of monsters to completely perfect the secondary evolution of Teodi. The blood of the devouring pig awakened by Wang Daken contains the blood of Teodi, one of the 10 ancient beasts. Among the 10 great beasts, Teodi. In ancient times, it dominated the land and ate everything. It is also the absolute overlord among S-level beasts. According to legend, Teodi will have a large-scale feeding every 100 years. It uses its innate magical power to devour the world and can devour all living things within 100 miles. Therefore, the place where Teodi exists is also called the Life Forbidden Zone. Its strength is so strong that even many S-level creatures are on the list of food for Teodi. Yi Ran looked at Wang Daken's attributes and marveled. With Wang Daken's current state, if he went to fight against those golden students, it was estimated that none of them could beat Wang Daken alone. Roar. With a low roar, Wang Daken came to the side of the wooden box. He lay directly on the corner of the opened wooden box and began to gnaw. The flesh of the black dragon, which was as hard as steel, was torn off by Wang Daken's teeth. This kind of bite force and sharpness were not something that a silver-level psychic could achieve. Although Wang Daken was biting hard at this time, he did not even think about tearing the wooden box open completely before gnawing. He just held the only corner and picked it up bit by bit. He looked clumsy and anxious. Sure enough, he is not fully conscious yet. Yi Ran shook his head slightly. Then, Yi Ran tapped the wooden box lightly. All the nails on the front of the wooden box fell off directly. Boom! The flesh and blood of the black dragon appeared in front of Wang Daken. Roar! Wang Daken looked at Yi Ran with his bright red eyes, as if to express his gratitude. Then, he jumped into the wooden box. Looking at the pile of flesh and blood, his eyes became even more blood red. Saliva dripped from the corner of his mouth like a beast. Buzz! A strange sound sounded. Wang Daken opened his mouth. A black hole suddenly appeared in front of his mouth. Space. Buzz. As Wang Daken's mind moved, the black hole began to emit an amazing suction force. All the flesh and blood of the black dragon were directly separated from the bones by this terrifying suction force and sucked into Wang Daken's mouth. This is the flesh and blood of an S-level monster. The tendons, bones, and flesh have long been polished to a terrifying degree. But Wang Daken, who has not yet reached the gold level, used his innate magical power to suck it out of the bones. Teodi's innate magical power, devouring the world. Have you used all your innate magical powers? Yi Ran looked at this scene and said to himself, you can even tear off S-level flesh and blood. What a heaven-defying talent. Yi Ran looked at the extent of Wang Daken's eating and estimated slightly. He eats really fast. It seems that the battle can be resolved within 3 hours. So, Yi Ran simply moved a chair and sat directly in the middle of the warehouse. While watching Wang Dakin's evolution progress, he kept a whistle. Time passed by minute by minute. Wang Dakin had eaten more than half of the entire black dragon's flesh and blood. At this time, Wang Dakin's aura began to soar. Silver late stage, gold early stage, gold middle stage, gold late stage. Wang Dakin crossed 4 stages in a row. In just one night, Wang Dakin achieved a goal that others might not be able to achieve in 3 years. This is not much different from the effect of Zhang Xiaoru's perfect inheritance. S-level talent, extremely evil. At the same time, with Wang Dakin's crazy upgrade, Yi Ran, who was bound to Wang Dakin as his direct master, also began to increase his strength like crazy. Roar! The power of the black dragon in Yi Ran's body seemed to have been greatly improved. A loud dragon roar was issued. Mid-gold, late gold. Gold perfection. The improvement of strength only stopped when Yi Ran reached the perfection of gold. At this time, Yi Ran felt that the distance between himself and platinum was thinner than a layer of window paper. Cool. In just a few dozen days, Yi Ran went from a silver-level loser to a platinum-level loser, and was on the verge of breaking through to the level of his own understanding. This speed of progress is even faster than that of Zhang Xiaoru and Wang Dakin. Burp. After Wang Dakin swallowed the last piece of black dragon flesh, Wang Dakin burped comfortably. His eyes had returned to clarity. He turned his head, as if drunk, and greeted Yi Ran with a smile. Teacher Yi, burp, I'm done, burp, a little sleepy. Boom. Before Wang Dakin finished speaking, he fell down with a bang. Ha, ha, ha. At the moment of falling to the ground, Wang Dakin's breathing began to sound. Yi Ran walked forward unhappily and kicked Wang Dakin. But Wang Dakin slept like a dead dog, and he couldn't move at all no matter how he kicked. He fell asleep after eating. No wonder Teoti can be related to devouring ferocious pigs. Then, Yi Ran used the system to check Wang Dakin's attributes. Wang Dakin, male, 20 years old. Awakened by superpowers. Teoti S level. Current skills. Physical Training 2.0 revised version of Magic City High Martial Arts Academy. Advantages. S-level physical attributes, S-level combat talent, SS-level anti-strike ability. Innate magical powers. Bloodthirsty and violent, swallowing the world, physical regeneration. Disadvantages. Coma, evolving too fast, the body urgently needs to recover and adjust. Guidance plan. None. Success. Yi Ran's eyes lit up. It seems that Wang Dakin has recovered from his mental confusion. This means that Wang Dakin is already a perfect S-level psychic without any flaws. At this moment, he is the genius who is comparable to Zhang Hidong in talent as mentioned by Luanyi before. Yi Ran's mouth corners slightly raised. When Wang Dakin shows his talent in public as an S-level next time, I don't know how many people will regret it. At this time, Yi Ran was also full of enthusiasm. It can be said that he pulled Wang Dakin back on track from the edge of being unwanted. And he personally created the miracle of an S-level genius. Thinking of this, Yi Ran's sense of accomplishment exploded. Yi Ran was full of enthusiasm, while Wang Dakin was sleeping soundly. Looking at the sleeping Wang Dakin, Yi Ran shook his head helplessly. This is not a place to sleep. Silly Dakin, you eat and then sleep, you still need your master to give you. You wipe your ass. Yi Ran complained a few words, carried Wang Dakin on his back, and left the warehouse immediately. The next morning, it was just dawn. Shu Yukai, who was still sleeping soundly with his new baby, was knocked on the door anxiously. Bang, 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 bang. The knocks on the door became more and more urgent. Shu Yukai finally couldn't pretend anymore. He threw away the two-dimensional eye mask and got off the bed cursing. Kuzi, which fool disturbed my sweet dream this morning? After saying that, Shu Yukai walked towards the door angrily. After Shu Yukai opened the door, he stared at his subordinates in the materials department and said word by word. I'll give you 2 sentences. You'd better give me a reason that satisfies me, otherwise I will really deduct your salary. At this time, the subordinates in the materials department were panting. With a look of horror. Director Shu, there is a problem in the warehouse. The black dragon flesh and blood placed in the warehouse hall is gone. After hearing this, Shu Yukai disappeared directly on the spot and ran towards the warehouse in slippers. The subordinates who reacted behind him also hurriedly chased after him. Director Shu, at least change your clothes before going over. Fu Street Boy, where do you have time to change clothes? Do you know how expensive the black dragon flesh and blood is? Shu Yukai said while cursing. He was wearing pajamas and big slippers, and sprinted towards the warehouse with all his strength, ignoring the eyes of everyone passing by. When Shu Yukai entered the warehouse, he stared at the big wooden box and took a deep breath. The wooden box was nearly the size of a dozen people. It contained a huge black dragon bone. The bone was clean without any trace of blood or flesh. Monitor. Go to the monitoring room. How could he take such a big piece of meat away without anyone noticing? Shu Yukai shouted and cursed as he walked into the monitoring room. After a while, in the monitoring room, Shu Yukai stared at the screen in a daze. Are you sure, there are only these two people? Quote. Yes, Director Shu, we have watched the video for no less than 10 times, and we have not seen other people here. Shu Yukai pointed at the empty wooden box outside the monitoring room, his eyes almost popped out. Then tell me, where is the meat? Where did they put the meat? Could it be that the two of them could eat all the meat here? Quote. After all, the volume of the flesh and blood of these 3,000 black dragons is nearly as large as that of 10 people, and the weight is as high as 16 or 17 tons. Now you tell me, there are two thieves, one big and one small, who go in and out. And not only is the meat gone, but they come out empty-handed. If it wasn't for the fact that he checked the warehouse himself and locked the door himself at the last moment, Shu Yukai would have suspected that his subordinates had embezzled the meat secretly. Tell me, how did they do it? Tell me, Shu Yukai yelled at his subordinates with his unique southern accent. All the subordinates were silent. Shu Yukai suddenly said, where are the indoor cameras? Why is there no indoor surveillance at all? The subordinates looked at Shu Yukai tremblingly and responded. Director Shu, you asked us not to turn on the indoor cameras to prevent those precious calligraphy and paintings from being damaged. Shu Yukai's eyes widened and he trembled. So, do we have no other clues? Yes, Director Shu. Hearing the subordinates reply, Shu Yukai was choked. Misfortunes can be cured, but those that are caused by oneself cannot be cured. Now Shu Yukai is almost regretting it. The strong blow made it difficult for him to breathe, and his face turned red. Director Shu, are you okay? Seeing this, the subordinates were about to help Shu Yukai up. Shu Yukai shook off the subordinate's hand, and finally squeezed out a little breath from his throat and said, Call the police. You must catch these two fools for me. Okay, I'll do it right away. Wait, come back, don't call the police. Shu Yukai thought that he had violated the rules in this matter, and calling the police would be like walking into a trap. Go and investigate privately, and you must find these two people, one big and one small. Don't tell anyone. Oh, okay. The subordinate agreed and ran out. Looking at the subordinate's back as he left, Shu Yukai was completely depressed. He collapsed to the ground, staring blankly at the empty wooden box, muttering to himself. It's over, it's all over. How can I explain this to Laba Pai? Shu Yukai suddenly regretted why he didn't agree with his subordinate last night to send the 3,000 black dragon flesh and blood to the insurance-grade warehouse. At this moment, Shu Yukai, he couldn't help but shudder when he thought of Lawani. He had suffered a great loss from Lawani last time. He couldn't imagine how Lawani would kill him this time. After a while, in Lawani's office, Shu Yukai was crying and telling about his hard work and sadness. Lawani handed the 1146th tissue to Shu Yukai with some fatigue. In just a few hours, she had almost heard all the misfortunes in Shu Yukai's life. I'm a curry, Lin Bei has a hard life. When I was in kindergarten, the female classmates didn't hold my hand when crossing the road. Seeing that Shu Yukai had already started to talk about his experience in kindergarten, Lawani finally couldn't bear it. So what exactly do you want to say here, Director Shu? She stared at Shu Yukai and knocked the pen in her hand, making a clanging sound. Hearing that Lawani finally asked the main question, Shu Yukai put away his tearful expression, and said to Lawani, Director La, another unfortunate incident happened recently because our warehouse was stolen. Quote. Is that so? Lawani nodded slightly after listening to Shu Yukai's words. Director La, don't you feel sorry for me? Shu Yukai was a little anxious and played his cards directly. He talked about his misfortune for several hours with a dry mouth. He originally wanted to take this opportunity to let Lawani feel sorry for him, and then lay the groundwork for the loss of the black dragon's flesh and blood. As a result, the woman in front of him was like a heart of stone, and was not moved at all. Ah, I deeply regret the accident that happened in the material department. By the way, what did the thief steal? My 3,000 black dragons are fine, right? Hearing Lawani's words, Shu Yukai felt that he was about to suffocate. You are just talking about something else. What kind of foreshadowing is this? What kind of foreshadowing is this? What's the difference between playing the emotional card with Lawani and playing the lute to a cow? Seeing that his emotional offensive did not work at all, Shu Yukai chose to throw the jar into the air. Director La, let me tell you the truth. All the materials in the warehouse were not lost. The only thing lost was your 3,000 black dragons' flesh and blood. As he spoke, Shu Yukai threw a stack of pictures of the crime scene at Lawani. He straightened his chest and raised his head, with an attitude of being ready to die. Director La, you can kill me or chop me up, it's up to you. Our material department wants money but not life. No, you can sell me, Shu Yukai, to Bama Mansion to atone for your sins. Lawani looked at the photos silently, a little dazed. How come the two figures, one big and one small, look so familiar? Lawani was smart, and after looking through a few photos, she found a clue. Director Shu, where are the indoor surveillance photos? Why are there only outdoor ones? Quote. Shu Yukai, who was still immersed in the sentiment of being ready to die generously, looked a little embarrassed after hearing what Lawani said. Of course he would not tell anyone about the illegal operation of the material department. He could only laugh and say, ah, ha ha ha, it's strange, it was probably too hot last night, and the indoor surveillance of our material department warehouse broke down. Listening to Shu Yukai's explanation, Lawani looked at Shu Yukai deeply. The surveillance equipment in your material department is really easy to break down. Ha ha, who said it wasn't? Shu Yukai touched his forehead, his voice was a little weak. Then, Lawani put down the photo. Looking at Shu Yukai. As far as I know, according to the regulations of your material department, treasures of this level should be placed in the material insurance warehouse. Let's go inside. The surveillance inside was designed by the principal himself, and it was supported by a supernatural formation. Is that broken too? Quote. Listening to Lawani's question, Shu Yukai almost peed. At this time, his eyebrows were almost drooping to the corners of his mouth. He opened his mouth and didn't know how to close it. Looking at Shu Yukai's performance, Lawani felt the same as a mirror. This fool must have thought that this flesh and blood would be given to the teaching department sooner or later, so he didn't put it in at all. Thinking of this, Lawani narrowed her eyes, and her four slender fingers tapped the table rhythmically. Sorry, Director Shu, since you violated the rules first, you can't blame me for being cruel. Lawani stood up immediately. Director Shu, this is a serious matter. The loss of this treasure is not only a loss for our two families, but also a loss for the entire school. I think we should report the matter to the principal. Hearing Lawani say that she was going to the principal, Shu Yukai almost peed. My dear ancestors, I made the principal unhappy last time, and now I have to face the principal again in just a few days. Do you really think that I have been the director of the materials department for too long? However, Shu Yukai, who knew that he had violated the rules, did not dare to refuse openly, and could only force out an extremely embarrassed smile. Director Shu, it's just a small matter, there's no need to trouble the principal. Lawani shook her head. How can this be, Director Shu, we are all magic warriors, what's the trouble? And this is a public matter, how can it be troublesome? As he said, Lawani stood up and was about to get her coat. Listening to Lawani's words, Shu Yukai had difficulty breathing. Finally, he raised the white flag in front of Lawani again. Director La, I give in, and it's not enough. Tell me, what are the conditions? Luwani also stopped when she heard Shu Yukai's words. She looked at Shu Yukai with a smile and stretched out 4 fingers. Shu Yukai looked at Luwani's action and couldn't help shouting. Impossible, I can't get so much black dragon flesh and blood even if I spend all my private money. Director La, you should take me to see the principal. Luwani shook her head. Director Shu is worrying too much, how can I force you? As she said, Luwani shook her fingers. I want 4 space rings, the kind made by the principal. Director Shu, you really can't take them out, right? Listening to Luwani's words, Shu Yukai hesitated a little. Although space rings are super treasures in the outside world, only the extraordinary people who have embarked on the path of time and space have the ability to make them. Any one of them can cause competition among various forces. However, the Magic City High Martial Arts Academy does have some space rings in stock. There is no other way, after all, their principal is at the top of the space department. There are 5 or 6 defective products made by the principal every year. Of course, although these things are defective products for Bai Shu. But for the rest of them, they are already rare treasures. Shu Yukai looked at Luwani and said with some heartache. Director La, our material department does have. But Director La, what do you need so many space rings for? Quote. Hearing Shu Yukai's question, Luwani stood up and walked towards the clothes rack. Let's go see the principal. Ouch, Shu Yukai said hurriedly. Director La, no need, I'll go find it now, and I'll deliver it to Director La tomorrow. Luwani looked at Shu Yukai with a smile. Okay, Director Shu, I'm not in a hurry. Looking at Luwani like a fox, Shu Yukai wiped the sweat from his head. You are not in a hurry, but I am. Every time I come to the teaching office, I have to be cut once. Shu Yukai saw that the matter was settled, and he stood up and left. Director La, if there is nothing else, then I will go back first. Director Shu, why are you in a hurry? Sit down and drink some, this is the giant rock tea that has just been picked. Quote. Shu Yukai looked at the fragrant tea with a bitter smile on his face. I'm not in the mood at all. No, I'm leaving first. As he said that, Shu Yukai opened the door and left. He left Luwani's office as if he was running away. Director Shu, welcome back next time. Shu Yukai, who had already run halfway, stumbled when he heard Luwani's words. He waved his hand without looking back and disappeared into the corridor. It seemed as if there was a flood or a beast chasing him. As Shu Yukai left, Wang Xiaomin poked her head out playfully. Master, Director Shu left, huh? Luwani nodded. Wang Xiaomin looked at Luwani. Master, what do you want so many space rings for? Luwani rolled her eyes at Wang Xiaomin. It's adult's business, little brat, don't ask about it. Quote. Although she said so, Luwani did not hesitate to discuss with Wang Xiaomin. Xiaomin, what do you think about setting the reward for the top 2 students in the final exam as space rings? Quote. Hearing this, Wang Xiaomin rolled her eyes slightly. Master, are you sure that Teacher Yi's class can take the top 2 places in the individual battle? Quote. Luwani looked at Wang Xiaomin and said unreasonably. Don't worry about it, I just believe Yi ran. Quote. Okay, whatever, Teacher Yi is the best. Wang Xiaomin looked at Luwani with a smile. Since Yi Ran's sudden rise, Luwani seems to be a lot more cheerful than before. And her feelings for Yi Ran are not so hidden anymore. Especially since Yi Ran hugged Luwani last time. Now when Luwani and Wang Xiaomin are together, they can joke about this openly. The overall relationship is improving, and I will record it in my little notebook later. Master, what about the remaining 2? Are you giving them to your good disciple, me? Quote. Wang Xiaomin rubbed her hands with a smile on her face. Luwani rolled her eyes at her. What are you thinking about? The remaining 2 are for Yi Ran and me. Master, be reserved. What are you reserved for? We have been engaged since childhood, don't you know? Quote. Hearing Luwani's frank words, Wang Xiaomin was completely stunned. So straightforward, right? You don't even want to avoid people, right? When did it happen? Did it progress so quickly? Okay, you have a lover and forget about your disciple, right? You won't give your dear disciple a space ring, right? I'll keep a record of you in my little notebook. Wang Xiaomin was fantasizing about how to report her master in the little notebook Zhongzi gave her. Let's not talk about this anymore. Let's talk about something serious. Luwani interrupted Wang Xiaoman's fantasy and looked at her with some confusion. Xiaoman, what's that expression on your face? What's wrong with you recently? Why are you laughing every now and then? Wang Xiaoman then retracted her somewhat excessive smile and lowered her head. Master, I'm fine. Tell me what you want. Luwani looked at Wang Xiaoman and shook her head helplessly. I asked you to keep a close eye on Yi Ran's class. How is it going? Wang Xiaoman recalled for a moment. Nothing has happened recently. It seems that their class just arranged a sect exchange student, the genius of the fire sect, Huang Dongdong. You have seen the one who stood next to Yi Ran in the restaurant before. Luwani recalled for a moment. That one, what else? Wang Xiaoman touched his forehead. Anything else? And what happened to Yi Ran yesterday at noon? Yi Ran and Wang Dakin disappeared after eating in the cafeteria. No one knows where they went. Quote. After hearing this, Luwani was slightly stunned. No way. Xiaoman, do you have a photo of Yi Ran and Wang Dakin? Quote. Yes, I have been paying attention to their class recently. They have been in the same camera for a long time. Send me a copy. Hearing Luwani's order, Wang Xiaoman looked for it directly and sent a copy to Luwani. Okay, you can go down. Quote. Oh, okay, master. After Wang Xiaoman left, Luwani took out the photo of the masked thief that Shu Yukai had just given her from the drawer. Then, Luwani took the two photos and began to compare them carefully. The height difference, the width difference, the walking posture. Instantly, Luwani's pupils began to expand and shrink. It's really Yi Ran and the others. Luwani tapped the table, with a helpless smile on her lips. I didn't expect that it was Yi Ran who robbed her things. But what did he want these things for? Luwani was puzzled. Ha, zzz. Ha, zzz. The instigator of the riot in the warehouse of the material department was now lying on the bed and snoring. The loud snoring was comparable to the chainsaw of a lumberjack. Yi Ran looked at Wang Dakin on the bed speechlessly. Even though his ears were stuffed with cotton, his eardrums still hurt from the vibration. No wonder there are rumors that there are no living creatures within a 10-mile radius of the ferocious beast Teoti. Which creature can stand this? Fortunately, the Magic City High Martial Arts College attaches great importance to protecting the privacy of its employees. The soundproofing materials used in the dormitory are all top-notch. Otherwise, the entire building would be uninhabitable. Bang, bang, bang. Yi Ran heard a knock on the door amidst the loud snoring. Yi Ran opened the door and looked around. Teacher, stop looking. There's someone downstairs. Hearing the sound, Yi Ran lowered his head. The person who came was the fire sect master's beloved Huang Dongdong. Huang Dongdong was stunned by the loud snoring the moment Yi Ran opened the door. He covered his ears with a painful expression. Teacher, we have a blasting test room in our practice room. There's no need to do it in the dormitory. Hearing Huang Dongdong say this, Yi Ran also realized that something was wrong. Then he pulled Huang Dongdong in and closed the door. The corridor was quiet again. Is everything done? Yi Ran asked Huang Dongdong despite his snoring. Huang Dongdong nodded, but his eyes were fixed on the bedroom door. Teacher Yi, the noise is too loud. What is in the bedroom? Yi Ran patted Huang Dongdong's forehead. Don't worry about anything else, I'll make you some tea. As he said that, Yi Ran walked towards the kitchen. But by chance, just after Yi Ran left, the bedroom door was not closed tightly and was blown by the wind. Ji-ya, Yi Ran's bedroom door opened. Huang Dongdong couldn't help being curious and looked directly. At this moment, he saw a sleeping figure on the big bed. The huge snoring almost made his bones numb. At this moment, Huang Dongdong was completely stunned. This explosion sound is actually a person snoring. Then Huang Dongdong looked carefully again, and when he saw that the sleeping person was Wang Dakin, his eyes almost popped out. How could Wang Dakin sleep in Teacher Yi's bedroom so early in the morning? What's going on? Could it be that Wang Dakin stayed at Teacher Yi's house last night and slept in Teacher Yi's big bed? But looking left and right, this staff dormitory is a one-bedroom and one living room, with only one bedroom. Huang Dongdong unraveled the mystery, and his imagination became bigger and bigger. His eyes became a little shocked. Could it be that Wang Dakin and Yi Ran slept together last night? Wait, Wang Dakan, Teacher Yi. Slept together last night. Boom. Huang Dongdong's brain seemed to be blown up. He seemed to have discovered an incredible secret. Exclamation mark. No wonder, I heard from the students in class 2 that Teacher Yi was very good to Wang Dakan and often took Wang Dakan for one-on-one private tutoring. With the guidance of a genius like Yi Ran, Wang Dakan's progress was naturally rapid. So when they fought in the restaurant, Wang Dakan, who was only a silver level, could actually fight 4 gold levels alone. It made sense, everything made sense. No wonder Teacher Yi, a famous lazy tutor who didn't care about anything, was so angry that he abused a platinum-level strongman just because Wang Dakan had a fight at school. Love is a fight for a beauty. Well, where does the teacher-student relationship come from? This is definitely a deep comradeship. Dirty adult PY transaction. People are like this. Once they believe in their own settings, all known plots will be madly applied to this setting. Thinking of this, Huang Dongdong couldn't help but shudder. I didn't expect that at such a young age, I have already been exposed to the dark side of such an adult. Wait, Huang Dongdong suddenly thought of something. If all this is true, then Teacher Yi is. Huang Dongdong suddenly recalled. Obviously, auditors can also attend classes here, but Yi Ran insisted on forcing him to be an exchange student of their class. Thinking of this, Huang Dongdong's forehead was already sweating unconsciously. Masaka, could it be that Teacher Yi had already taken a fancy to me when he saw me for the first time? Thinking of this, Huang Dongdong's spine felt sore. A chill rushed from his tailbone to his head. Huang Dongdong's face has turned ugly. Although I am handsome. But I am straight. I will never play Niu battle in my life. What are you thinking about? Yi Ran also made tea at this time. When I walked out, I saw Huang Dongdong staring at the bedroom with an ugly look on his face. Hearing Yi Ran's call, Huang Dongdong turned his head and looked at Yi Ran with a wary look on his face, but said nothing. Yi Ran ignored the crazy little kid. He handed the cup directly to Huang Dongdong. Be careful. Seeing that Huang Dongdong didn't hold the bottom of the cup steady, Yi Ran let go of his hand and prepared to hold it again. As a result, Yi Ran just touched Huang Dongdong's hand. Whoosh! Huang Dongdong pulled his hand back with lightning speed. As if he was afraid that Yi Ran would touch him. He looked at Yi Ran with guarded eyes. Yi Ran looked at Huang Dongdong inexplicably. What's wrong with you? Huang Dongdong shook his head and pointed to the bedroom. Teacher Yi, the person sleeping inside is Wang Dakan. Yi Ran heard Huang Dongdong's inquiry. He nodded naturally. Yeah, who else can snore so loudly? Listening to Yi Ran's answer, Huang Dongdong's eyes widened. Just put it that bluntly. Aren't you even covering it up? But it's morning, so Wang Dakan fell asleep here last night. Huang Dongdong still holds on to the last trace of fantasy. Yi Rengong wanted to answer no. But then I thought about the affair between the two of them last night. It was not appropriate for Huang Dongdong to know. So I typed haha. Yes, Wang Dakan came to my place to play last night. He was too tired and fell asleep here. Too tired from playing. What are you tired of playing? How can 2 grown men play in the same room until they are too tired to go back to the dormitory? Huang Dongdong looked at Yi Ran, stunned. The young mind was greatly impacted. It's over, what kind of dirty talk is this? My ears are dirty. Sorry, master, my disciple is still too shallow and has not seen clearly the filth and evil in the world. I actually fell into this binary den. Huang Dongdong is thinking silently in his heart. Yi Ran didn't want to delve into this matter, so he changed the topic. Now that you have completed your status as an exchange student in the sect, I will be your teacher from today on. Come and let me check you out. Examine. What to check for? Body check. Do you usually like to play medical cosplay? Is this stage progressing so quickly? Huang Dongdong's eyes were full of shock. Is this the beginning? Dirty PY deal. Dirty adults. Stop talking nonsense, hurry up. Yi Ran sat on the sofa and waited for Huang Dongdong's performance. Huang Dongdong himself has a bad temper. How can I bear this? In an instant, Huang Dongdong's aura was fully activated. Flames sprouted from all over his body to protect him. He stared at Yi Ran angrily. A golden red musket appeared in his hand. I don't know why, but the musket transformed this time is more direct than ever before. And the protective flames on the body. It is specially arranged in Wangdongdong. The butt area looks extra thick. What nonsense. Yi Ran frowned. Although he didn't know what the little guy in front of him was thinking in his mind, it didn't stop Yi Ran from using the system to start scanning Huang Dongdong. In an instant, Yi Ran had Huang Dongdong's personal information in his mind. Huang Dongdong. Male, 12 years old. Inherited sect. Fire sect. Current skill. Fire fighting skill. Advantages. Extremely solid basic skills, top flame affinity. Shortcoming. If the skill is defective, the anger attacks the heart, and the heart veins are burned and damaged to a certain extent. Guidance plan. 1. Modify the movement path and specific optimization plan. 2. Practicing Samadhi True Fire Golden Body, specific optimization plan. Yi Ran clicked his tongue in surprise. Although I have seen Huang Dongdong's personal attributes once before. But every time I see Huang Dongdong at the age of 12, I still feel shocked. Top flame affinity, perfectly adapted to the fire movement sect technique. The fire movement sect has really found a treasure. Okay, after reading it, put it away. Yi Ran waved his hand, indicating to Huang Dongdong to take back the technique. Huang Dongdong looked at Yi Ran suspiciously, wondering what Yi Ran was playing. What's the situation? Isn't a fight about to begin? At this moment, Huang Dongdong felt like he was drawing his sword and looking around. Solid basic skills, fire attribute, full affinity, what a good seedling. To be honest, I envy your master a little bit. Yi Ran looked at Huang Dongdong with admiration, which made Huang Dongdong look alert. Don't look at me like that. Hearing Huang Dongdong's words, Yi Ran was stunned for a moment. Isn't it? Don't think that I am small and you can deceive me. Don't you just want to rule me? I'll tell you straight, no way, young master, I'm a straight man. After saying that, Huang Dongdong intentionally or unintentionally glanced at Wang Dakin in the bedroom. After hearing this, Yi Ran also understood the reason why Huang Dongdong did all this. For a moment, Yi Ran was both amused and confused. The little guy in front of him was much more interesting than he had imagined. Don't laugh, what's so funny? Seeing Yi Ran's childish appearance, Huang Dongdong became even angrier, and he yelled at Yi Ran angrily. Okay, I won't laugh, huh? Yi Ran said he wouldn't laugh, but the smile on his face could hardly be hidden. Yi Ran's expression made Huang Dongdong so angry that he stood there and stomped his feet. Squeak. Just as Huang Dongdong was stomping his feet in anger, the bedroom door was opened. Wang Dakin rubbed his sleepy eyes, yawned, looked at the lively living room, and smiled foolishly. Huang Dongdong, why are you in Teacher Yi's apartment? After seeing Wang Dakin, Huang Dongdong said with great sorrow. Look at what you have done to Wang Dakin. He is still so tired at almost noon. I, Huang Dongdong, really misjudged you. It's a dirty PY deal. You just saw that Wang Dakin's practice was frustrated, so you took advantage of the opportunity. No. Huang Dongdong, who wanted to continue to accuse just now, looked at Wang Dakin with a shocked face. He looked Wang Dakin up and down, and couldn't help rubbing his eyes again, as if he didn't dare to face the reality. Dakin, have you broken through? Wang Dakin nodded honestly when he heard Huang Dongdong's question. Yes, I broke through to the gold level after waking up, hee. Hearing Wang Dakin's affirmative reply, Huang Dongdong's eyes were straight. What's going on? In my impression, when Wang Dakin was in the restaurant, wasn't he barely in the late silver level? It's still a long way from breaking through to the gold level. It's only been 2 days since they separated, and he has just completed the formalities. Wang Dakin has already broken through from silver to gold. Even if you practice magic skills, you can't be so fast, right? Yi Ran smiled at the shocked Huang Dongdong. He even didn't forget to add fuel to the fire. Dakin, release all your strength. Let our sect exchange students take a good look at your current strength. Oh, okay, master. After saying that, Wang Dakin's eyes tightened slightly, and his aura expanded wildly. Early golden stage, middle golden stage, late golden stage. When he reached the late golden stage, Wang Dakin's expansion slowed down. After Wang Dakin's aura stabilized, Huang Dongdong's eyeballs almost popped out. Huang, Late golden stage, Huang Dongdong exclaimed in surprise. For a moment, he looked at Wang Dakin and then at Yi Ran. He swallowed his saliva. Who am I? What am I doing? What kind of outrageous ghost stories are these? Chapter 51. Hey, it was all Teacher Yi who taught me. I told you, Teacher Yi is really amazing. Wang Dakin touched his head in a trademark way, retracted his momentum, and smiled foolishly. Huang Dongdong looked at Wang Dakin with complicated eyes. He had already started to think wildly in his mind. How much did Wang Dakin pay for Yi Ran in order to get such a huge improvement? For a moment, he looked at Wang Dakin with some distress. Dakin, can you hold your shit every day? Wang Dakin listened to Huang Dongdong's outrageous speech, and his big eyes revealed clear confusion. What are you talking about? We martial artists lift our anus every day, how can we not hold it? Do you have this problem? Huang Dongdong waved his hand. Of course I don't. Seeing Wang Dakin like this, he was a little anxious. Dakin, don't pretend to be stupid and don't understand. I tell you, I know everything. You. Bang. Before Huang Dongdong finished speaking, a sound came directly from his forehead, a crisp knock. Huang Dongdong covered his forehead in pain, staring at Yi Ran with big eyes. It feels good, your brain is really smart, but it's a pity that it's all crooked. Yi Ran rubbed his fingers. You. Huang Dongdong covered his head and stared at Yi Ran, wanting to say something. Yi Ran ignored him, turned to Wang Dakin and asked. How does it feel? Wang Dakin grinned, revealing 2 rows of neat teeth. Master, I feel like I have endless strength now, stronger than ever before. He patted his chest, making a bang bang sound, as if hitting an alloy. Yi Ran turned around and nodded with satisfaction. Then, he exclaimed in amazement. Even if others could eat that flesh and blood, they would probably burst due to the energy in it. Not only did you eat it, but you were able to completely absorb and digest it in one night. This physical fitness is worthy of an S-level superpower. Wang Dakin listened to Yi Ran's praise. I don't know why, he just kept smiling foolishly. S-level, Huang Dongdong discovered the blind spot. He looked at Wang Dakin with a look of disbelief in his eyes. Dakin, are you an S-level psychic? Hee, it's all because of Teacher Yi's advice. Without Teacher Yi, I would still be a loser. Wang Dakin smiled embarrassedly and looked at Yi Ran with gratitude. Huang Dongdong shook his head in disbelief. If Wang Dakin's strength improved rapidly, he could still accept it. But an S-level psychic was really beyond Huang Dongdong's cognition. It's no wonder that Huang Dongdong made a fuss. He had also known Wang Dakin's background before. He was just an A-level psychic with problems. But now Wang Dakin is an S-level psychic. Or was he promoted to S-level under Yi Ran's guidance? This is too magical. S-level is already rare and comparable to national treasures, not to mention the ability users who have successfully advanced to S-level through the Second Awakening. This is already a rare existence in tens of millions, no, 1 in billions. Wang Dakin's experience is unbelievable enough. But Wang Dakin said that it was all accomplished with Yi Ran's guidance. What kind of international joke is this? In order to help Andrew's Second Awakening, the Ability Alliance died 3 diamond-level flower cards to complete the feat. Now it can be easily accomplished with Yi Ran's guidance. And if Yi Ran has the ability to perform such a miracle, wouldn't he become famous all over the world and stay in a small class as a tutor? Huang Dongdong's eyes were filled with suspicion. He felt that Yi Ran and Wang Dakin were working together to deceive him. Dakin, I still think it's impossible to be S-level. How can it be so easy for a Second Awakening S-level? Huang Dongdong is a straightforward person who says whatever he thinks. Listening to Huang Dongdong's question, Wang Dakin smiled. I don't know what I am now, but since Teacher Yi said it is, then I am. Looking at Wang Dakin's indifferent attitude, Huang Dongdong said unhappily. Silly guy, do you know what an S-level psychic represents? Is this your attitude? Wang Dakin said indifferently. I know, but so what? Huang Dongdong rolled his eyes. Big fool, do you really think he is a god? He can force you to the level of an S-class superpower. Your strength improvement must have been forced by him using some evil methods. It may not be good for your health. Huang Dongdong is a descendant of a famous family after all. His knowledge is much broader than that of ordinary people. He still knows some evil ways that can improve personal strength in a short period of time. Wang Dakin shook his head and said seriously, Dong Dong, you can't say that about Teacher Yi. Huang Dongdong pouted. I'm telling you. Dakin, think about it, that's an S-level psychic, if it's true. Wang Dakin interrupted Huang Dongdong. Dongdong, stop talking, it doesn't matter whether it's S-level or not, it's enough for me to follow Teacher Yi. Huang Dongdong took a deep breath and looked at Wang Dakin hopelessly. He shook Wang Dakin's shoulders. Silly guy, wake up, your brain is almost washed out. Huang Dongdong, it seems that you don't believe that Wang Dakin is an S-level psychic. Just as Huang Dongdong was shaking Wang Dakin frantically, Yi Ran's voice came from behind. Huang Dongdong looked at Yi Ran and said unconvincedly. That's for sure. Dakin doesn't know how rare S-level psychics are. How can you not know? Yi Ran didn't care about Huang Dongdong's doubts. He stood up and looked at Wang Dakin. It just so happens that I want to see how strong an S-level psychic can be. Come with me. As he said that, Yi Ran packed a coat and walked out the door. Okay, master. Wang Dakin didn't even ask where he was going and followed Yi Ran directly. Huang Dongdong looked at the two of them and asked, where are you going? Yi Ran glanced at Huang Dongdong. Of course we're going to the practice room. Where else can we go? Are you going? Go, of course. I'll expose you in person. I'll save you from brainwashing Dakin again. As Huang Dongdong said this, he was also ready to leave. Yi Ran looked at this little kid with a smile in his eyes. This kid has a strong sense of justice and a hot temper. He is the kind of person who speaks directly but has no bad intentions. He says whatever he wants. To be honest, he is quite suitable for Yi Ran's temper. In short, the more Yi Ran looks at Huang Dongdong, the more interesting he finds him. For a moment, Yi Ran was in a playful mood and deliberately said to Huang Dongdong, what if Dakin is really an S-level superpower? Huang Dongdong stiffened his neck. If Dakin is really an S-level superpower, I will jump from this floor. Jump without using any skills. Yi Ran added fuel to the fire. Huang Dongdong, who was so hot-tempered, couldn't stand such stimulation. He immediately followed Yi Ran's words and choked. If you don't need it, don't use it. If you use it, I'm your grandson. I'm not that old, and I don't want to have a disobedient grandson like you. You, wow, you're so angry. In front of Yi Ran, Huang Dongdong was on the verge of collapse at all times. When Wang Dakin heard Huang Dongdong was going to jump off the building, he hurried to cover Huang Dongdong's mouth. Dongdong, you can't do this, you can't do this. Huang Dongdong broke free from Wang Dakin's hand, staring at Yi Ran, and said unconvinced. I'm going to bet today, if Wang Dakin is S-level, then I'll jump down, if not, you jump down. Listening to Huang Dongdong's nonsense, Yi Ran's smile became even bigger. A gentleman's word, don't say 4 horses, 8 horses are hard to catch up. Huang Dongdong said firmly. Yi Ran looked at Huang Dongdong with a smile. Looking forward to your performance. Just as the three of them were bickering with each other, a figure suddenly appeared in the sky above the Magic City High Martial Arts College. In the depths of the clouds that no one could detect. This person was thin and had white hair, especially the long white beard that almost reached his waist. If Shu Yukai was there, he would definitely bow down. This person was the principal of the Magic City High Martial Arts College. One of the 3 pillars of the Magic City, the recognized king of space, the void venerable Bai Shu. Bai Shu looked down and looked indifferently at the cookie-sized campus. He squinted his eyes and muttered to himself. 16 extraordinary people, what a big scene. You didn't even say hello. Do you really think that I, an old man, am nothing? The extraordinary man looked at Bai Shu without saying much. Buzz. The ordinary-looking extraordinary man took off his disguise. After the disguise disappeared, an extremely handsome young man appeared. This man had flowing hair, eyes like stars, sword-like eyebrows and star-like eyes, and a handsome face. The whole face was so beautiful that even women envied it. However, after such a beautiful young man took off his disguise, all the extraordinary people moved a few meters away from him. They looked at him as if they were facing a great enemy. With undisguised fear in their eyes. As if they were looking at the devil who existed in ancient times. When Bai Shu saw who was coming, He was so angry that his white beard fluttered. But Bai Shu, who was originally looking at a great enemy, became a lot more relaxed at this time. After all, this was the only extraordinary person with similar strength to him. And he was one of his own. He squinted his eyes and looked at the young man in front of him. It's okay if someone from the military comes, but is our education department also going to poach people? Could it be that my magic and martial arts academy has become independent and no longer belongs to the education department? The young man looked at Bai Shu, his face still cold. I won't dig it, but that day is mine. The language was concise and extremely domineering. He didn't give Bai Shu any face at all. As a result, Bai Shu was not angry, but just looked at the boy unhappily. You are too lazy to hide it, no wonder people say you have a bad relationship. Bai Shu complained. The boy listened to Bai Shu's words and just said 3 words lightly. I don't care. Then, the boy turned around, and I don't know when he had a sword in his hand. He turned his back to Bai Shu and Li Wancheng, looking at all the extraordinary people around. Extraordinary people from Dragon Country, take off your disguise. Extraordinary people who are not from Dragon Country, retreat. A few simple words came out of the mouth of the boy, like a sharp sword piercing into the ears of every extraordinary person who was still pretending. At first, the extraordinary people were still hesitating, seeing that these extraordinary people did not take off their disguises for a long time. The boy snorted coldly. In an instant, the sword in the young man's hand disappeared. But at the moment of disappearance, all the extraordinary people acted as if they were facing a great enemy, and they all used their energy to resist. Ding, ding, ding. No attacking movements were seen. The sharp sound of swords hit the chest of each extraordinary person. Many extraordinary people were repelled several meters away. What's more, some of them could not even defend against the sword of the young man, leaving clear sword marks on their arms. With one person's strength, he killed more than 10 extraordinary people with one sword, and even injured several of them. The strength is terrifying. For the last time, take off the disguise. Lan Moyan's 8 words, the murderous aura was like substance, turned into a sharp sword and pierced the eyebrows of the extraordinary people. All the extraordinary people were silent. Although Bai Shu was a supernatural person of the Tuguo level, but his character of considering the overall situation made them not. I believe Bai Shu dared to kill people. But the master in front of him can really do what he said to kill, and he really killed people. After a while, many extraordinary people reluctantly took off their disguises. It is worthy of being the offensive weapon of Dragon Country, I am convinced. It is really amazing. You have cultivated to the point where even your voice is like a divine weapon. Lan Moyan, your understanding of the sword has improved a lot compared to before. Director Lan, how did you do it? You have cultivated to the level of slaughtering a country at such a young age. It really is the world of young people. For a while, the various extraordinary people in Dragon Country who took off their disguises complimented the young man. But even with such compliments, no one dared to approach the young man within 3 meters. As if the young man's 3-meter range was a life-restricted area. The young man, named Lan Moyan. He is called the heavy weapon of attack, the sword that kills the throat, the Dragon Kingdom sword god, and a supernatural person who slaughters the country. The most amazing genius in the sword god sect in 10,000 years. His life experience can be called a re-edition of Wang Tang. Lan Moyan has been accompanied by the sword since he was a child, and he is one with the sword. Gold at the age of 3, platinum at the age of 9, diamond at the age of 12. At the age of 18, he attracted the creation of the sword god sect. The sword of the founder, the divine weapon without edge, made a series of sword sounds. Finally, he was recognized by the divine weapon without edge. He entered the sword mirror in one fell swoop, and became a supernatural being when he became an adult. When there was nothing left to teach in the sword god religion, he went out to gain experience. And came to the Dragon Country Education Department to work. And the reason why Lan Moyan was called the heavy weapon of attack was that the 3 great sword sects of the Foot Basin country came together to challenge the Dragon Country swordsmanship. After thwarting many sword sects, Lan Moyan, with one sword, challenged the 3 great sword sects of the Foot Basin country, and finally ended with Lan Moyan killing the 3 great sword sects without any injury. Since then, Lan Moyen has also been publicly recognized as a supernatural person at the level of slaughtering a country. Above the clouds, the compliments of the extraordinary people were endless. Instantly, the originally stalemate situation was made clear by Lan Moyen's sword. Lan Moyen ignored the compliments of the extraordinary people present, but just pointed the sword at the other extraordinary people who had not taken off their disguises. 3 seconds, go. When being pointed at by Lan Moyen's sword, these extraordinary people felt like a thorn in their backs, and there was a tremor from the soul. Wait a minute, we. A foreign superhuman was about to say something in poor dragon country dialect, when he heard Lan Moyen's cold voice, 3, 2, before he could count to 1, with a hum. The other superhumans who had not taken off their disguises showed their magical powers and disappeared directly on the spot. Bai Shu saw it and admired it in his heart. One man and one sword, directly made the complex situation of more than a dozen superhumans clear and bright. Lan Moyen's behavior and his sword were clean and neat. Although Lan Moyen spoke directly and did not care about the ways of the world, who had the strength to make this peerless young man care about the ways of the world? Now that the foreign forces have been driven away, then it will be easy to deal with the domestic ones. Bai Shu looked around at the remaining extraordinary people. Wow, they are from the sects, the aristocratic families, and even from other schools. Basically, everyone who should come and shouldn't come has come. Seeing this, Bai Shu's face was a little deep. Because most of those who chose not to take off their disguises and oppose him, Bai Shu, were from the sects and aristocratic families. Although the Dragon Kingdom is strong at present, it still has its own drawbacks, that is, the sects and aristocratic families are in power. There are also many people from the sects and aristocratic families in official institutions. Some of the sects and aristocratic families are okay. But some of the sects and aristocratic families, taking advantage of their positions, began to absorb talents and suppress dissidents, completely ignoring the development of the country, and only knowing how to strengthen their own sects and aristocratic families. Especially using their power to force universities to the academy provides them with talents and makes them retainers of their clans and families. It is difficult for many ordinary people with extraordinary talents to make a breakthrough. And many of those who came today are from these clans and families. Of course, these problems did not form in one day, and it is not easy to eradicate them in one day. It is impossible for him, a principal, to eradicate these forces. Although Bai Shu was dissatisfied, he did not say it. He cleared his throat and did not say, "Why are you here? I believe you must have heard that there is a genius in our school who crushes platinum with gold." Bai Shu's words made everyone present quiet down. Bai Shu paused and continued. "Here, I want to make a statement to everyone. This matter is true." As soon as these words came out, all the extraordinary people present looked at each other, with a hint of excitement and confusion in their eyes. Excited that since Bai Shu could say it, it proved that this genius really existed. Confused, they didn't know what Bai Shu meant by saying this openly. All the people present were extraordinary. Naturally they knew how big the gap was between a white gold who had touched the law and entered the Tao, and a gold who had not walked out of his own Tao. But someone could break this iron rule with his talent and strength. If this kind of monster was from their own family, they would wish that other forces didn't know any information. But why did Bai Shu tell them this matter so openly? They all knew how precious this genius was, would Bai Shu not know? Bai Shu's move really confused everyone. But confusion aside, since Bai Shu was so frank, the extraordinary people present also chose to continue climbing the pole and respond to his moves. Principal Bai, is that really the case? Congratulations to Principal Bai, it is worthy of being the Magic City High Martial Arts Academy. There was Zhang Hidong who dominated a generation before, and now there is such a great talent in just a few years. Modu High Martial Arts Academy, a place of outstanding people and beautiful scenery. Principal Bai, why don't you take us to see the style of this genius? The extraordinary people are all smart people, and they began to praise Bai Shu. The topic also turned to asking Bai Shu to take them to see Yi Ran. Bai Shu watched all this. Suddenly, he looked around at everyone present. If the purpose of your trip is to recruit this genius, I still advise you to give up the idea. At this moment, the extraordinary people were unwilling. Why, Principal Bai, Everyone has their own strengths. How do you know which aspect this genius is most suitable for? Yes, Principal Bai, we can't delay his development, right? Principal Bai, it's not suitable, right? Since when did the Magic City High Martial Arts Academy become so self-contained? Quote. The world's greatest talent, Principal Bai, as a pillar, are you really willing to watch him fail to find the best direction for development? Quote. When did the Magic City High Martial Arts Academy become a place that constrains geniuses? Everyone spoke out their own reasons to refute Bai Shu. Bai Shu calmly waved his hand and said to all the extraordinary people, please stop for a moment. I am not an unreasonable person, but this genius is not a student, but a mentor. Mentor. All the extraordinary people were confused for a moment. Bai Shu nodded. I know you all have the means find this genius in private. Quote. But sorry, he is the instructor of our Magic City High Martial Arts Academy, and he has a contract. Before the contract expires, none of you can take him away. Everyone, please go back. Bai Shu's tone was full of an attitude that could not be refused, and his momentum soared. After all, instructors are different from students. Students can be spotted by other forces and poached by all means, and the school can't do anything about it. But instructors are different. All instructors have signed contracts. The contract is the legal rule given by the Dragon Country. No force can arbitrarily compete for a person who already has a contract. For official organizations such as colleges and universities, all those who have signed contracts are equivalent to disciples of the sect. I wonder which force will see that other sect disciples have good talents and can take advantage of them. Wait for the ancestors of the sect to fight with you. Of course, if the contract has not expired. In normal circumstances. For them, the extraordinary, what is the matter? But Bai Shu said this stipulation of the contract in front of all the extraordinary people. It was clear that he wanted to find a reasonable rule to shut up all the extraordinary people. In this matter, it was legal and reasonable for the Magic City High Martial Arts Academy not to release the people. Some rules are not worth a feather when they are not used. But once they are put on the table, they are worth 1,000 gold. That's the truth. Bai Shu did this to tell these extraordinary people clearly that he was giving them a way out and they should stop when they are ahead. Everyone should be friendly and don't let there be any grudges in the end. Bai Shu is the pillar of the Magic City and one of the staunch guardians of Dragon Country. Considering the overall situation has become his first choice in his behavior. For a while, the extraordinary people were silent. Suddenly, a discordant voice appeared in the crowd. But Principal Bai, at worst we can go on loan. It just so happens that our department needs such talents. Let him report to our department tomorrow. Even though Bai Shu had said so, there were still extraordinary people who spoke recklessly. This tone even sounded like an order. This person is an extraordinary person from a certain sect, one of the extraordinary people who is keen on forming small groups. After the operation of the forces behind him, he served as a leader in the functional department of Dragon Country. The high position and long-term domineering instructions gave him a mysterious confidence. After all, their department has also borrowed tutors from major universities, and this kind of thing is easy for them. This guy looked at the silent crowd, feeling somewhat complacent, thinking that he was the first to come up with a solution. But he didn't know that others looked at him like a dead man. Bai Shu looked at the extraordinary person indifferently. Are you talking to me? What's the problem, Principal Bai? It's not against the rules to be seconded. Before the extraordinary person finished speaking, instantly, countless distorted spaces appeared around the extraordinary person. Crack! A crisp sound rang out. The extraordinary person's forearm rotated 180 degrees directly. The steel bones tempered by the extraordinary power actually were broken by this terrifying space distortion force. Before everyone could react, there were several more cracks. The extraordinary person didn't even have a chance to resist. His knees were also broken directly. The whole person couldn't support his body and knelt directly in front of Bai Shu. The intense pain made the extraordinary person in front of him pale. Cold sweat broke out. Bai Shu walked forward silently, looked down. I haven't been out for so long, it seems that everyone has really forgotten me. After all, the extraordinary people present saw this scene. The fear in their eyes was obvious. Bai Shu did not make any offensive moves. Relying only on his understanding of the law, he directly crushed an extraordinary person. At this moment, everyone finally remembered this usually kind old man. But a true country-killing superhuman. I had thought of a contract as a reason to give the major domestic forces a decent face. But there was really a fool who wanted to challenge the authority of a country-killing superhuman. Bai Shu ignored the collapsed superhuman and said to the other superhumans behind him, "Listen carefully, I am informing, not discussing. Everyone, is there anything you don't understand about what I said?" Bai Shu looked around, his tone was tough. Wherever his eyes passed, no one dared to look at him. All the extraordinary people were silent. Everyone knew that if they said one more word, they would be the next to collapse on the ground. The originally excited atmosphere was extinguished by Bai Shu's words. "Old Bai, what if that kid's contract expires and he is no longer a member of your Mowu?" Suddenly, an older extraordinary person in the crowd asked a question. This person was from the top family in Kyoto. One of the three ancestors of the Zhu family, the ancestor of the Qingfang, the Luaniao Taoist, Zhu Qingguan. It was obvious that no matter how close Zhu Chengqing was, he was at least an old acquaintance of Bai Shu. Bai Shu glanced at the old woman. "The contract has expired, and it depends on your ability. It's a deal, so I won't bother you too much." The old woman bowed her hands, her figure turned into nothingness, and disappeared. One of them left, and the other extraordinary people saw that there was no hope. And they all stood up and chose to leave. This farce has come to an end. Watching these extraordinary people leave, Bai Shu was still thinking about the last words of Zhu Qingguan, the Phoenix Taoist. He murmured to himself, "Have you discovered the identity of this kid?" Then, Bai Shu shook his head helplessly. "The Zhu family. I didn't expect to be involved in the dragon bird dispute. Senior Bai, what are you thinking about?" Just as Bai Shu was thinking, a deep voice came from behind him. Bai Shu turned around and saw that Li Wancheng and Lan Moyan were still there, and they didn't want to plan to leave. Bai Shu looked at the two people who refused to leave. First he glared at Li Wancheng. Li Wancheng seemed to be slow to react and pretended not to see. "Principal Bai, let's talk about our magic city. The food at Gaowu School is really good. I couldn't stop eating there after I ate there last time. Quote, how about this, I'll do odd jobs for you here, and you can take care of my meals." Quote. Li Wancheng looked at Bai Shu with a smile. The look in his eyes was full of sincerity, without a trace of falsehood. "Since you don't allow me to find a genius, then I won't look for one. I am an extraordinary person and I come to do odd jobs for you. You won't reject me, right?" Bai Shu looked at Li Wancheng, feeling somewhat helpless. "You, a superhuman, come to school to do odd jobs? Are you using an anti-aircraft gun to kill a mosquito? The real purpose is not to drink. Who can't see what he is thinking?" This was not the first time he had come into contact with Li Wancheng. It can be said that he had become extremely thick-skinned. He could pull down the face that other superhumans could not, and he could throw away the burdens that other superhumans could not let go. Throw it away. Plus there is an order from the military. This dog skin plaster is probably impossible to get rid of. Go and register for employment tomorrow, and you will be the most amateur tutor in our college. Bai Shu can't be driven away. I can only feel disgusted with this guy. Okay, Principal Bai, to be honest, being able to work at the Magic City High Martial Arts College is my biggest dream in my life. Li Wancheng was not angry, but thanked him with a smile. Bai Shu looked at he just shook his head. Even if you slap this kind of guy, you will only be afraid that he will shout, "Good job." But it doesn't matter. After all, with Li Wancheng's strength and the quality of the military, everything is still within his control. And the other person who refused to leave. Bai Shu looked at Lan Moyan's handsome face. "My head hurts a little. What about you? Director Lan, you are not going to be an amateur tutor in our school, are you?" Bai Shu looked at Lan Moyan in silence. After all, Lan Moyan is under the education department. Strictly speaking, he is his immediate superior in terms of official position. In terms of strength, Lan Moyan and himself are both supernatural beings at the level of slaughtering a nation. Even Lan Moyan's path is that of attacking. The first sword cultivation method. May be slightly better than him in attack. Lan Moyan is hard to persuade and may not be defeated in a fight. This is what gives Bai Shu the most headache. Listening to Bai Shu's question, Lan Moyan turned his head. Under the sunlight, this handsome face exuded a charming luster. No need. Listening to Lan Moyan's concise reply, Bai Shu he breathed a sigh of relief. Which class is he in? I want to be a student. Bai Shu was not happy for long. Lan Moyan's words made him stagger. He almost lost control and fell from the sky go down. Even Li Wancheng, who was standing by, was choked by Lan Moyan's words and kept coughing. The two of them stared at Lan Moyan, who was calm. Are you kidding? You are a butcher. A national-level extraordinary person chooses to be an auditor. At this moment, Li Wancheng felt that his choice was still a bit too conservative. Are you serious? Bai Shu couldn't help but ask. Lan Moyan looked at Bai Shu calmly and pointed at his own face. What, is this against the rules? For a moment, Bai Shu and the other person fell silent as they looked at Lan Moyan's youthful and peerless face. Although Lan Moyan is a big boss among extraordinary big bosses, but according to his age, he is indeed only old enough to go to college. If Lan Moyan applies for admission, he doesn't even need to falsify his age. It is indeed not against the rules. For a moment, Bai Shu opened his mouth but could not speak. Because he could not find any reason to refute Lan Moyan. Lan Moyan, what do you want? What are you doing? Bai Shu couldn't help but ask directly. Lan Moyan looked at Bai Shu thinking for a moment and answered. I want to go to school. Listening to Lan Moyan, this concise and straightforward answer silenced Bai Shu. For a moment, the scene was deadlocked. Lan Moyan saw Bai Shu stopped talking. So he waved his hand. I want to see my student ID tomorrow. Lan Moyan was concise and to the point, and after he finished speaking, he turned into a lightsaber and disappeared in the sky in an instant. Looking at the light spot that disappeared from Lan Moyan, Bai Shu couldn't help but twitch his mouth. And he looked at Li Wanyan next to him. Two extraordinary people. One wanted to be the most amateur tutor, and the other wanted to go directly to the salted fish class as a student. Crazy, all crazy, how can there be two weirdos like you among the extraordinary people? Bai Shu, who usually has excellent self-cultivation, couldn't help but swear at this moment. Principal Bai, I'm still here. Li Wancheng said awkwardly. Bai Shu glared at Li Wancheng unhappily. And finally turned into a distortion and disappeared. Li Wancheng stared blankly at the empty sky. And shouted. Principal, where can I apply for employment? The extraordinary storm came to an end temporarily. And at this moment in the practice room, Yi Ran, Wang Dakan and Huang Dongdong had already reserved a practice room. But this time they did not choose an ordinary silver-level practice room as before. But Huang Dongdong used his fire sect authority to open a practice room that is exclusive to the fire sect. It is full of fire-attributed gems, and it gives people a steaming feeling as soon as they enter. The test robots are made of high-quality fire-resistant and high-strength materials. In addition, there are various fire-attributed treasures related to training brought back by their predecessors in the fire sect. As soon as Wang Dakan came in, he looked left and right like Granny Lu entering the Grand View Garden, touching this and that. After seeing this, Huang Dongdong laughed proudly. Silly guy, you have never seen such a high-end practice room, right? You can build it as much as you want today. If you break it, it's my fault. Exclamation mark quote. Wang Dakan looked at Huang Dongdong patting his chest, and touched his head a little embarrassedly. No, I broke the school's test robot before. Seeing that Wang Dakan didn't believe him, Huang Dongdong pointed at the test robot anxiously. See. This is the extreme ice material that my master specially exchanged from the West. It is resistant to Mars and has full strength. Not only that, my master also set up a diamond-level defense formation on it. If you can break this today, even if the robot is broken, I can even call you daddy. Hearing Huang Dongdong's seriousness, Wang Dakan waved his hand. No need, no need. After all, he had accidentally broken a test robot before. After hearing that incident, the teacher from the material department investigated it for a while. Wang Dakan was already guilty, and he had to eat 30 kilograms of raw meat every day. It was from that time that Wang Dakan never went to the practice room again. Seeing that Wang Dakan was still refusing, Huang Dongdong anxiously grabbed Wang Dakan's arm and was about to walk towards the test robot. You have to beat me today even if you don't want to. Huang Dongdong's anxious look was just like those children who showed off their toys but were questioned. Master. Wang Dakin couldn't resist Huang Dongdong, and looked at Yi Ran with an embarrassed face. Yi Ran raised his head and said to Wang Dakin, "Since Dongdong is so kind, you should give it a try. It just so happens that S-level strength is not something that ordinary training rooms can bear." Yi Ran had just finished speaking. Wang Dakin hadn't nodded yet. Huang Dongdong made a face at Yi Ran. "You are still dreaming about your spring and autumn period, Teacher Yi." Looking at the quirky Huang Dongdong, Yi Ran not annoyed, just smiling and saying, "Don't get upset and cry later. Who are you talking about? Whoever you think is who." "You," said, but Yi Ran's Huang Dongdong was so angry that he jumped up and down. "Just wait and see," Huang Dongdong said angrily. "I'm so angry. I'm waiting for you to jump off the building today." After saying that, Huang Dongdong pulled Wang Dakin's hand. "Big fool, follow me." Two people came to the test robot one after another. Huang Dongdong looked at Wang Dakin. "Dakin, watch out, my strength is still a little behind that of an S-class psychic. If you can't even match the strength of my punch, forget it." "What S-class superpower?" Quote. After saying this, Huang Dongdong's whole body began to rise with flames. The originally fair-skinned child now turned red like charcoal fire. Huang Dongdong moved his mind, and the flame energy on his body quickly moved towards his right fist gathered together. The intense heat even caused the air to distort. "Hey!" As Huang Dongdong shouted, Huang Dongdong's right fist swung out instantly. The flame energy on his right fist transformed into a golden red fire dragon. With a loud dragon roar, towards the test robot bombarded over. Instantly, the golden red flames hit the test robot. The array on the test robot emitted a faint blue light, resisting the high temperature of the flames. But even so, the test robot was slowly burned. It turned red. After a while, Huang Dongdong retracted his fist and looked at the screen above the robot. The huge screen began to spin numbers frantically. Damage value, 19,250. After seeing this scene, Huang Dongdong nodded with satisfaction. After reaching the gold level, the special features of various supernatural skills have begun to emerge. The damage cannot be simply calculated by strength. So after many iterations of innovation, the test robots above the gold level are all made of regeneration-type Warcraft materials in addition to the characteristics of the formation. If it is damaged, as long as it does not exceed the limit, the formation will be used to restore it to its original state directly. Even if the test robot in front of you is specially made by Hoven. The basic principle is basically the same. It's just that the preciousness of the materials and the strength of the formation are different. The testing standard for gold level masters has changed from a simple strength test to a comprehensive consideration of the destructive value. In order to quantify the paper strength of masters after gold, damage value, 19,250. Huang Dongdong pointed at the huge screen and looked at Wang Dakin with a smug look on his face. "See, Dakin, 19,250. The damage value of a full-strength attack at the golden perfection level is between 15,000 and 20,000. Huang Dongdong's attack is already infinitely close to 20,000. This destructive power can be said to be in the realm of golden perfection. It is also the top existence." "Big fool, see, this is called strength." After saying that, Huang Dongdong did not forget to turn his head to look at Yi Ran, and shook his head with a little pride. "Head. Teacher Yi, this result is not bad, right?" That proud expression seemed to be telling Yi Ran, "You are going to jump off this building." Facing Huang Dongdong's provocation, Yi Ran still nodded with a smile on his face. "Great, the strength of your luck is just right. 1 point more is a waste. 1 point less is not good. It seems that you have worked hard in the past. This fire battle you have perfected the skill. You used the most powerful attack of the 36 stratagems of fire, dragon fighting in the wilderness. Its damage and destructive power are among the best among all fire-attributed offensive methods. The top skills." Listening to Yi Ran's comments, Huang Dongdong wanted to pretend to be humble and deep. But after all, he was too young and had too little experience. And he couldn't suppress the upward curve of his mouth. There was no way, being invincible was so lonely. brother, is just so outstanding. Hey, this charm that has nowhere to go, can't be stopped, can't be stopped. Huang Dongdong is proud at the same time. Also, I have to admire Yi Ran's vicious eyes. It seems that Yi Ran is really good at teaching and educating people and being knowledgeable. Yi Ran actually didn't need to observe closely. You can directly see the strength of your punches and the smoothness of your movements. Not only that, you can also see at a glance which fire-based combat skill you are using. This kind of vision and knowledge is definitely not something that ordinary tutors can achieve. Yi Ran's voice suddenly came again. But even if you can perfectly use dragon fighting in the wild, with your current strength, the damage value should not be as high as 19,250. After Huang Dongdong heard this sentence, his body trembled slightly, and he looked at Yi Ran with incredible eyes. Yi Ran groped his chin, his eyes seemed to be able to see through Huang Dongdong. A genius idea is to completely concentrate the outlet of the skill on the triple burner of the ring finger when performing firefighting skills, so that the power can be condensed into one point to form a qualitative change, and the destructive power will be greatly increased. The main gate of your Huoxing sect for generations is located on the Sanjiao point, which is connected to the heart. I didn't expect that you would dare to do the opposite and use the Ming Gate as a springboard to achieve a leap forward change in output methods. You dare to try this place that your master wouldn't dare to touch easily. Wonderful, genius and adventurous. I have to say that the fire sect really found a treasure when they picked you up. Yi Ran analyzed it carefully. Every word in these sentences is like an arrow, piercing deeply into the most secret corner of Huang Dongdong's heart. At this time, there was no pride or complacency on Huang Dongdong's face. He can't even close his mouth now. The whole person was completely stunned. How did he know? Since he successfully developed this unique skill, he has not told anyone about it. Even his master Huo Wen doesn't know. And Yi Ran, just relying on the moment he used his skills, just clicked on it. At this moment, Huang Dongdong felt like he was standing naked in front of Yi Ran. There are no secrets at all. What kind of ghost story is this? How vicious is this look? Huang Dongdong looked at Yi Ran with a hint of fear in his eyes. After Wang Dakan saw Huang Dongdong's expression, one book satisfies. Finally, I was not the only one who was so shocked that my cognition was destroyed in front of Teacher Yi. Yi Ran was still calm and composed, as if he had done something insignificant. He looked at Huang Dongdong with a smile. What's going on? Where has our little Nezha, who is not afraid of anything, gone? Listening to Yi Ran's teasing, Huang Dongdong thought for a long time and didn't know what to say. He let out a long sigh and looked at Yi Ran with a complicated expression. Are you a human or a ghost? After Yi Ran heard Huang Dongdong's words, he smiled. It doesn't matter whether I'm a human or a ghost. What's important is that I know some people are going to jump off the building today. Later, Yi Ran continued. Your perception is correct. Although you are skilled in combat skills and have genius ideas, in terms of destructive power, it is indeed a step behind S-class superpowers. Yi Ran looked at Huang Dongdong. Don't you really want to see if Wang Dakan is an S-class superpower? Yi Ran turned his head to Wang Dakan. Dakan, after all, it's a rare opportunity to come to this kind of training room. Give it your all and feel your own strength. Oh, okay master. Hearing Yi Ran's words, Wang Dakan nodded. Then he smiled and said to Huang Dongdong, then I'll start. Saying, Wang Dakan walked to the test robot that had returned to its original state. Seeing Wang Dakan standing still, Huang Dongdong also held his breath and looked at Wang Dakan intently. Although he was shocked beyond measure by Yi Ran's words, he still didn't think that Wang Dakan could successfully awaken for the second time under Yi Ran's guidance and become an S-level superpower in one fell swoop. After all, this second awakening is too difficult. If other forces want to achieve a second awakening, they will have to pay a painful price. Now, with only Yi Ran and Wang Dakan, they can complete a second awakening without making a sound. Huang Dongdong's cognition over the years has told him that this is absolutely impossible. Huang Dongdong glanced at Yi Ran. Forget it, let's just remove the absolute. Huang Dongdong's heart was beating. Even though he didn't believe it at all, he seemed a little uncertain. Although Yi Ran was looking at Wang Dakan who walked in front of the test robot, But he also noticed the change in Huang Dongdong's expression in his peripheral vision. Looking at this somewhat entangled young genius, Yi Ran's mouth corners were slightly raised. This is the effect he wanted. Huang Dongdong was different from Wang Dakan and Zhang Xiaoru. Huang Dongdong, who became famous at a young age and was extremely intelligent, was a genius boy who was accepted as a direct disciple of the fire sect since he was a child. No matter in life or practice, he was naturally taken care of in every way. In addition to his ability far beyond ordinary people, he naturally developed a rebellious and arrogant character. And rebelliousness is Huang Dongdong's biggest drawback. Because if he wants to truly temper the Samadhi true fire golden body successfully, Huang Dongdong the mentality must be truly peaceful, so as to resist the burning heart fire. Otherwise, with Huang Dongdong's current rebellious temper, tempering the golden body will only cause fire and heartache, and eventually be burned to death by the Samadhi true fire. Another important reason is that Huang Dongdong is now like the monkey head who just practiced in the 3 stars cave of the slanting moon. He doesn't care about the Jade Emperor. The Jade Emperor issued several edicts of amnesty, and finally gave them to the Monkey King. Isn't the monkey head unwilling to do this or that? It can be seen from Huang Dongdong's previous behavior that, even if Yi Ran can help Huang Dongdong cultivate the Samadhi true fire golden body, with Huang Dongdong's chivalry, he will regard Yi Ran as a good friend, but to say that he can respect his teacher as if he were a teacher, it is difficult. Of course, this does not mean that Sun Wukong or Huang Dongdong has a bad character. It can only be said that life is too smooth, so smooth that it is difficult to distinguish between duty and affection. With such a temperament, if it is not corrected now, he will grow up to be like Sun Wukong, causing huge troubles. Since Yi Ran asked Huang Dongdong to apply for a sect exchange student, he became Huang Dongdong's teacher. As a teacher for a day, to be responsible for students for a day. So Yi Ran felt that he still had an obligation to help Huang Dongdong. Let him give up his rebelliousness and take back his original intention. Otherwise, he would not care about anything, even if he helped him successfully forge the Samadhi true fire golden body. Letting a strong strength without a strong personality to control it. This is what really harmed Huang Dongdong. So, from the moment Yi Ran was ready to take Huang Dongdong to see whether Wang Dakan was an S-level superpower, Yi Ran had been inadvertently breaking Huang Dongdong's cognition. Let the seeds of confusion penetrate into Huang Dongdong's heart. Let Huang Dongdong taste the taste of frustration. Let Huang Dongdong know what it means to have people beyond people and heaven beyond heaven. Wang Dakan was standing in front of the test robot and was exerting his strength. Yi Ran said, "Dakan, don't hold back, throw your arms wide, and do your best to fight." Seemingly, Yi Ran saw through his little thought of holding back. Wang Dakan touched his head a little embarrassedly. "Hee, master, don't worry, I will definitely not hold back." After that, Wang Dakan's eyes began to turn blood red. Swish! Wang Dakan's body was directly covered with jade-like red scales. Wild power burst out from his eyes like charcoal fire. The nostrils rolled up a hot whirlwind between breaths. The surrounding blood mist continued to gush and shrink with Wang Dakan's breathing, bringing a more terrifying aura to this evil god. The fierce beast Teodi is back in the world. Since Wang Dakan completed his alienation, all the living creatures in the entire practice room were trembling. Some small monsters stored in the practice room by Huo Wen. Many of them were so frightened that they rolled their eyes and became paralyzed. Even Huang Dongdong felt a tremor coming from the depths of his soul. It seems to be a fear that comes from genes. Teodi is one of the ferocious beasts that destroyed the most lives in ancient times. It has indeed left a deep imprint of fear on the genes of countless creatures. What kind of magical beast is this? Huang Dongdong exercised his skills to resist the trembling from the depths of his soul. The disbelief in his eyes almost overflowed. As a young genius, the contemporaries he interacted with since childhood were also geniuses. I've never seen any alienated powers of his. But the Wang Dakan in front of him really opened his eyes again. He couldn't even name the ferocious beast in front of him. However, none of the alienated ferocious beasts I faced before were as oppressive as the Wang Dakan in front of me. Could it be that? Is Wang Dakan really the legendary S-class superpower now? For a moment, Huang Dongdong turned his head and looked at Yi Ran, with a hint of bitterness at the corner of his mouth. Was Wang Dakin's second awakening really successful under the guidance of a young teacher who was not yet 30 years old? When Huang Dongdong's thoughts were racing, Wang Dakin is ready to go. His right fist condensed with blood-red energy and blasted directly towards the test robot. The surging power even distorts the space it passes through. Boom! As a huge bombardment sounded, half of the test robot's body had completely disappeared without a trace. The wound was flat and smooth, without any adhesion or sloppiness. S-class power is so terrifying. Me, Huang Dongdong blurted out. With this punch, he was completely shocked. The slightly opened mouth never closed again. He has never seen a gold-level person who can make this test robot look like this. The test robot is slowly recovering. The display screen began to jump crazily with values. At this moment, the three of them were all paying attention to the numbers jumping on the screen. No one said a word. The atmosphere suddenly became a little tense. After the numbers have completely stopped, the little bit of knowledge that Huang Dongdong still had in his heart was completely shattered. 21,200. This value has exceeded the limit that Golden Zochin can achieve. Moreover, Wang Dakin has not yet reached the state of golden perfection. It's just the strength of the late golden stage, regardless of whether Wang Dakin is the S-level superpower or not. The damage value of this attack alone had completely shattered his cognition. Huang Dongdong swallowed, looked at Wang Dakin, and then at Yi Ran. My heart is full of mixed feelings. For a moment, he recalled his arrogant and domineering appearance in front of Yi Ran. There are some burns on my face. What is a frog in a well? At this moment, Huang Dongdong, who was standing between Yi Ran and Wang Dakin. I finally understood the true meaning of this idiom concretely. Wang Dakin saw the numerical value. He also nodded with satisfaction. Then he turned around and smiled at Yi Ran. Master, is this strength enough to survive? Huang Dongdong looked complicated after hearing this. This is called working together, right? In the late golden stage, you hit a damage value that exceeded the limit of golden perfection. Tell me, is this okay? As a result, Yi Ran didn't praise Wang Dakin when he saw him. Instead, he shook his head with some dissatisfaction. Dakin, I asked you to use all your strength, don't you understand? After hearing this sentence, Huang Dongdong seemed to be choked. A pair of big eyes stared at Yi Ran. His eyes were full of shock. Yi Ran's words, into Huang Dongdong's ears, sounded like a ghost story. Huang Dongdong rubbed his eyes. Confirmed the value again. I'm not blind. This is more than 20,000. What do you mean by not using all your strength? Huang Dongdong felt dizzy. For a moment, he couldn't tell whether the world was crazy or he was crazy. A late gold player hit more than 20,000 damage points. And the instructor said he didn't use all his strength. What about me? I used all my strength to hit 19,000. Huang Dongdong was in deep self-doubt. For a moment, he was not sure if he was a genius. No, Mr. Yi must be lying to him. This was definitely not true. Wang Dakin was already at his limit to hit such a damage value. It was absolutely impossible that he didn't use all his strength. People are like this. Once they don't want to believe something, they will think of all the reasons that deny this thing. No matter how outrageous the reason is, they are willing to believe it. Huang Dongdong turned his head and looked at Wang Dakin with expectation in his eyes. The expression that was about to burst out seemed to tell Wang Dakin. Hurry up and tell Teacher Yi that you have tried your best. This is your limit. Wang Dakin touched his head after hearing Yi Ran's scolding. Master, do you really want to do that? After all, this is still the practice room of the fire sect. It's not good to do this. When these words came out, Huang Dongdong's heart was broken. Dakin, you have become bad too. Someone gave you a ladder and you really climbed up. Huang Dongdong's breathing was a little rapid. The whole person behaved like a gambler who was desperate to lose. No, he must still be deceiving me. It must be like this, it must be like this. As a genius, he naturally has the pride of a genius. He can accept that Wang Dakin is slightly stronger than him in the late golden period. At least he still has a chance to pursue and compete. However, he cannot accept that Wang Dakin achieved such a result without using all his strength. It is like in weightlifting. A person who thinks he is a genius finds out that his limit weight, his white moonlight, is being toyed around by others. Impossible, absolutely impossible. They are still deceiving me. I will fight you to the end. I must expose your lies. Huang Dongdong, who was unwilling to give up, gnashed his teeth and said, "Hit me, Dakin, hit me. If you hurt me, I won't make any trouble for you." Seeing Huang Dongdong like this, Wang Dakin asked with concern, "Huang Dongdong, what's wrong with you? Are you okay?" Huang Dongdong's eyes were red, and he tried to calm himself down. "What can happen to me, Wang Dakin? Hit me quickly, even if you hurt me, I won't let you pay a dime." Yi Ran saw this scene. It seems that his stimulation therapy has worked. Now all he needs to do is to add another dose of strong medicine to completely destroy the pride in Huang Dongdong's heart. Yi Ran said to Wang Dakin, "Did you hear that? Huang Dongdong said so. Dakin, what are you still worried about? Use all your innate magical powers and let Dongdong see what S-level strength is like." After hearing Yi Ran's words, Wang Dakin touched his head, with a little expectation in his eyes. After all, he also wanted to see what level his strength would be when he tried his best. "Then master, I will do it." After that, Wang Dakin transformed into the appearance of Teodi. The pressure of the fierce beast Teodi once again made the little demon beast they trembled in fear. Roar! Wang Dakin did not punch directly this time, but roared like a ferocious beast. Instantly, the blood mist around Wang Dakin began to shrink rapidly into his body. The whole body swelled rapidly. In less than a moment, Wang Dakin was 3 heads taller than before. Innate magical power, bloodthirsty rage. Teodi psychics can burn their own blood to increase their own strength. After bloodthirsty rage, their strength increases by 300%, their recovery ability increases by 300%, and their defense ability increases by 300%. Thump, thump, thump. Wang Dakin's heartbeat. The sound fell clearly into the ears of the two people. Very rhythmic and powerful, like the engine of a top supercar starting to run at full speed. Huang Dongdong looked at Wang Dakin with fear in his eyes at this time. At this time, the sense of oppression brought by Wang Dakin was obviously more than twice as strong. How is this possible? Just as Huang Dongdong muttered to himself, unable to believe it. Wang Dakin directly used his second innate magical power. Wang Dakin opened his mouth instantly, and the front of his mouth turned into a bottomless black hole. This was the innate magical power that Wang Dakin used when he devoured the flesh and blood of the black dragon. Swallowing the world. Go! With Wang Dakin's light shout, the bottomless black hole rushed directly towards the test robot. Without making any sound, and without any obstruction, the entire test robot was completely annihilated by the black hole into nothingness. After the performance, Wang Dakin shrank back to his original size. Looking up at the red test screen. This time, the red test screen did not start scrolling numbers as usual, but kept flashing, flashing, flashing. In the end, there was still no value reported on the red test screen. But a sentence appeared. Error, error, test robot cannot be detected. Error, error, test robot cannot be detected. At this moment, there was complete silence. Huang Dongdong swallowed his saliva and turned to look at the position of the test robot. It was empty, as if nothing had been placed there. Wang Dakin's attack actually completely annihilated the test robot and the formation into nothingness. There was no way to recover in a short time. As a result, the machine had no way to measure Wang Dakin's damage value. After seeing this scene, Wang Dakin touched his head a little embarrassedly, and then quickly looked at Huang Dongdong said, "It's really not my fault, but you asked me to fight with all my strength." Wang Dakin was still worried that Huang Dongdong would ask him for compensation. And at this moment, Huang Dongdong was in no mood to care about Wang Dakin's little thoughts. His stiff waist completely broke after Wang Dakin completed this attack. For a moment, Huang Dongdong felt a little sad. What the most talented descendant of the fire sect in 1,000 years. What the most talented Golden Realm super genius in his teens. Compared with Wang Dakin in front of him, he was just a frog in a well seeing the sun and the moon. At this moment, Huang Dongdong's pride was completely shattered. Unconsciously, Huang Dongdong only felt his cheeks a little wet. "Hey, Dongdong, why are you crying?" "No, Dong, don't cry. The truth is that perhaps because he felt embarrassed, Huang Dong turned his head away and walked to a corner, trying to hold back his sobs. However, his shoulders were still shrugged. After seeing this, Wang Dakan looked at Yiran and scratched his head helplessly. He hit Huang Dong and made her cry. What should he do? Yiran looked at Huang Dong's back and smiled helplessly. He had been thinking about helping Huang Dong get rid of his arrogance. He forgot that Huang Dong was only a teenager. His mind was naturally not as mature as that of a college student in his 20s. Then, Yiran waved his hand and signaled Wang Dakan to leave. Wang Dakan nodded in understanding and quietly left the practice room. Huang Dong in the corner was still secretly wiping away tears. At this moment, he was in a very complicated mood. He asked himself, is he angry with Yiran and Wang Dakan? Is he hit by Wang Dakan's strength that far exceeds his own? Is he ashamed because of his crying? Huang Dong felt that he was, but he also felt that he was not. He didn't know why he shed tears. In short, he was uncomfortable all over today. It seemed that the things that were logical in the past were not smooth today. Bored, embarrassed, abused, wronged. All kinds of emotions were mixed together. Huang Dong, who had always been smooth sailing, felt this way for the first time in his life. The more he thought about it, the more irritated he became, and tears flowed unconsciously again. Just when Huang Dong was crying, suddenly, a tissue appeared in front of him. Children of the rivers and lakes, shed blood and sweat, how can there be any reason to shed tears? Huang Dong looked up and found Yiran standing beside him at this time. Yiran stretched out the tissue in his hand again. Wipe it, Mr. Huang. HMPH. Huang Dong ignored Yiran's ridicule. Took the tissue away, blew his nose hard, angrily threw the snot tissue into the trash can, and said without raising his head. Why don't you leave? Do you like to see others embarrassed? Embarrassed? Who embarrassed? Yiran asked softly. Huang Dong responded unhappily. You must admit that I am embarrassed, then you will be satisfied, right? Yiran looked at Huang Dong with confusion. You are embarrassed, where are you embarrassed? Losing to A, is it really shameful to be an S-class psychic? Quote. After hearing Yiran's words, Huang Dong was suddenly a little stunned. He had been immersed in his own cognition and couldn't extricate himself. Suddenly, Yiran reminded him that it seemed to be true. There are only a few S-class psychics in the whole dragon country. The strength of each S-class psychic is beyond the reach of others. Each of them is invincible at the same level. It doesn't seem to be difficult to accept losing to an S-class psychic. Not to mention himself, even his master Huo Xing sect master Huo Wen would directly choose to run away when he met an S-class psychic of the same level. Then why should he feel ashamed because of such a thing? Huang Dong was a little dazed for a moment. Yiran looked at Huang Dong and said calmly, Dong, you are sad because you lost your proud talent to a student like Wang Dakan who was originally a loser, and you are sad because you lost to a salted fish mentor like me in terms of knowledge. You think that with your profound knowledge, deep background and outstanding talent, it is impossible for you to lose to us. You are sad because we pulled you down from the altar. You are sad because all your pride was trampled underfoot today. Yiran's expression was calm, but his sharp words went straight to Huang Dong's heart. Every word pierced Huang Dong's heart like an arrow. I didn't. Huang Dong was a little flustered after hearing Yiran's words, and he quickly denied it. Huang Dong, don't you dare to look directly into your heart. Yiran's eyes flashed with brilliance, as if he could see through Huang Dong directly. As if Huang Dong was like a thief with a guilty conscience. He didn't dare to look directly into Yiran's eyes. Under Yiran's strong momentum, Huang Dong looked around and struggled for a moment. Finally, he lowered his head and stopped talking. It seemed that he agreed with what Yiran said. At this moment, Huang Dong no longer had that rebellious attitude. The whole person stood in front of Yiran like a primary school student who had made a mistake. Looking at the silent Huang Dong, Yiran simply sat down. Huang Dong, I know you are a child of destiny. You have been trained as a disciple by the sect since you were a child. You have been smooth sailing all the way, so you naturally don't know what setbacks are. You have been in a room of orchids for a long time without smelling the fragrance. Your master protects you too well, making you feel that everything is taken for granted. You deserve others to be good to you. You deserve to have resources far beyond others. You deserve to think that you are always better and stronger than others. Yi Ran paused and looked at Huang Dongdong, with a serious look in his eyes. Dongdong, you are like a sword now, showing your sharpness and not knowing how to restrain yourself. But you have to understand that one day, you will meet someone more talented than you, a sword sharper than you. What will you do then? Go head on with him. Cry after being crushed like today. Be extremely depressed and unable to get out of the haze. Dongdong, those who are too hard are easily broken, those who are gentle are undefeated, and only those who are humble can reach the top. Huang Dongdong seemed to understand the right and wrong after listening to Yi Ran's words. I felt that although I didn't understand it very well, I seemed to have grasped something. But after changing her mind, she pouted. What's the point of being modest? In the end, it still can't make up for the difference in talent. Yi Ran looked at the somewhat frustrated Huang Dongdong and touched his head. Huang Dongdong, you have your talent, he has his talent. What we need to do is not to compare the level of talent, what we need to do is to maximize the use of our talents to bring ourselves to the top. Some people are born closer to Rome, some are born farther away from Rome, but there is always a way to Rome. Besides, Yi Ran tapped Huang Dongdong's ring finger. Who told you that a fire cultivator who has tempered the Samadhi true fire golden body will be better than an S-level alien, the capable or the poor? Quote. As soon as these words came out, Huang Dongdong suddenly raised his head, with a glimmer of hope in his eyes. Teacher Yi, what do you mean? Yi Ran looked at Huang Dongdong deeply. Whether you can forge the Samadhi true fire golden body, the most important reason is not me but you. If you really understand what happened today, then your Samadhi true fire golden body will have hope. If you can't understand. Yi Ran shook his head and stood up to leave. If you can't understand, you will have no hope for the rest of your life. After saying that, Yi Ran left the practice room directly, leaving Huang Dongdong squatting in the corner alone. Huang Dongdong is an extremely smart child, and Yi Ran believes that he will definitely be able to get out of this dilemma in his heart. Huang Dongdong was thoughtful as he watched Yi Ran leave. After a moment, he stood up gently. Children of the rivers and lakes shed blood and sweat, so why should they shed tears? Huang Dongdong repeated Yi Ran's words to himself. He took a tissue and wiped the tears from his face carefully. Then, he rubbed his hands together silently, and the blue flame used for voice transmission appeared. Master, you have always told me that there are people better than you, and I should be modest and calm. I can't listen to you because I have never seen anyone who is far better than me. But today I not only saw it, I also saw too. Master, you are right, my knowledge is as shallow as a frog in a well, I don't know the vastness of the sun and the moon, I often sit in the well and look at the sky, arrogant and complacent. Master, from today on, I will study hard, I may not be able to take care of it in the near future, and I will not contact you again. Don't worry, love you Dongdong. After saying that, Huang Dongdong rubbed his fingers slightly, the flame disappeared, and a wisp of green smoke floated towards the sky. After Huang Dongdong did all this, he also left the practice room one after another, but this time his steps were no longer running and jumping like usual, but every step was steady and solid, very down to earth. In the fire gate, Huo Wen was staring at the dissipating smoke in a daze. Is this still the Huang Dongdong he knew? At this time, Huo Wen was confused. He took a deep breath and shook his head. What did this kid go through when he went out? As Huang Dongdong's master, he knew Huang Dongdong too well. With Huang Dongdong's personality, if he could say such words from his mouth, then these two people are definitely not just a little bit stronger than Huang Dongdong. It must be completely crushed to make Huang Dongdong say such words so convinced. When did the quality of teachers and students in the Magic City High Martial Arts College reach this level? Such an amazing talent, such a huge change, made Huo Wen a little worried for a while whether his beloved disciple had encountered any changes. But Huo Wen changed his mind and thought that this was all a good thing. Who would have thought that Huang Dongdong, who was usually the king of the sect and even wanted to kick passing dogs, became humble in his tone of speech in just a few days. This was something that he had not taught Huangdongdong for nearly a few years. The first year of Magic City High Martial Arts Academy is really full of hidden talents. Quote. Huo Wen muttered to himself, with such a level, I think he must have been in Li Shizong's class. Brat, you have a good eye. An old man like Huo Wen naturally didn't know the young mentor. He only knew Li Shizong, who was almost the same age as him, throughout the first year. Although his personal cultivation talent was not strong, his teaching level was extremely high. There were no less than 5 diamond masters under Li Shizong's hands. Therefore, Li Shizong was also called the Master of Masters, and he was also very famous in the industry. Seeing his apprentice have such a change, Huo Wen, as a master, was naturally very happy. Huo Wen, who had figured it out, simply lay down on the rocking chair and fanned himself leisurely again. I'll come to thank you in person if I get a chance. On the corridor, Yi Ran, who was still pacing towards his class, suddenly felt a wave of energy behind him. And then Yi Ran's body began to twist. A trap. No, it's magic. Yi Ran, who was attacked by surprise, tightened his eyes slightly. And then he was about to use his skills to resist the distortion from space. But he never expected that he had just used his skills and hadn't seen the shadow of the black dragon on his body. And the distorted space directly interrupted his skills, and didn't allow Yi Ran to resist at all, and directly kidnapped Yi Ran completely. In an instant, the corridor was quiet, as if Yi Ran had never been here. Plop! With a heavy crash, Yi Ran reappeared from the space distortion and fell hard on his buttocks. Yi Ran, who had just regained control of his body, had no time to take care of his buttocks, turned over directly and looked around vigilantly. The power of the black dragon on his body rose up and surrounded Yi Ran to protect him. Yi Ran narrowed his eyes slightly and observed the surroundings. At this time, he was in an antique room. The whole room was dominated by white. The 4 walls were filled with bookshelves. The bookshelves were filled with all kinds of old books. The edges of the pages were yellowed, revealing the traces of time. In the center of the room, a huge solid wood table occupied the main space. The tabletop was covered with all kinds of strange materials. Where is this? Why did you bring me to this place? At this moment, Yi Ran had a question mark hanging over his head. The space shift before, even his innate body could not resist and offset it. It was obvious that the person who manipulated the space shift, his strength was definitely far beyond his own, and he was not an opponent of the same dimension at all. If this person wanted to kill him, he might have died just now. Looking at the current situation, this person obviously did not want his life. Then what was he doing? Quick reaction. Suddenly, an old voice came from behind Yi Ran. Okay, stop guessing, I brought you here. Just as Yi Ran. When Yi Ran was confused. I don't know when. A person has already sat on the tall chair behind the solid wood table. When Yi Ran turned around and looked, he was shocked. Principal, this person is Bai Shu. Bai Shu supported his chin with half of his elbow, and kept tapping the table with 4 fingers on his other hand, making a tap 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 sound. From beginning to end, Bai Shu's eyes never left Yi Ran. His eyes were clear and deep, and occasionally exuded a brilliant light, as if he wanted to see through Yi Ran. When Yi Ran looked at Bai Shu and met his eyes, it seemed that what he saw was not a pair of eyes, but the vastness of the stars, and he even felt dizzy after looking at it for a long time. To be honest, in all the years since I have been in charge of the Magic City High Martial Arts College, you are the first young man who makes me feel that I can't see through you. After a moment, Bai Shu slowly spoke. Hearing Bai Shu's speech, Yi Ran smiled bitterly. It seems that another extraordinary person had said this to him before. But at that time, he was more direct and wanted to directly investigate. What, Principal, do you want to investigate too? However, facing one of the 3 pillars of the Magic City, a supernatural being who slaughtered a country, and his top leader, Yi Ran naturally couldn't make such a joke. He immediately responded with a cupped hand. Thanks to the principal's kindness, I am lucky to have such an evaluation. Bai Shu heard Yi Ran's polite words and waved his hand. There is no such thing as kindness. Since your father arranged you to our school, we haven't met again. Bai Shu sat up slightly and leaned forward. To be honest, I was really deceived by your father at that time. I really treated you as a relative. Who would have thought that you would become the first person in history to break the platinum iron rule? I can't believe it. I have been teaching for a lifetime, but I didn't expect that I would still make mistakes. Hearing what Bai Shu said, Yi Ran responded respectfully. Principal, you are very busy. Not only is you the principal of our Magic City High Martial Arts Academy, but you are also one of the 3 pillars of Magic City. The entire Magic City's 2 districts and 13 counties are all on your shoulders. Things like what the juniors have done are really not worth your attention. Flattery never wears out, although I don't know why the principal brought me here. But since the principal did not notify me through formal channels, but used space magic to transfer me here so rudely, it proves that the principal's temper should not be particularly good at the moment. Yi Ran's survival experience tells him that, facing a country-killing supernatural being in a bad mood, it is always right to flatter him. Okay, you are so eloquent. Bai Shu looked at Yi Ran with a smile. Don't you want to know why I called you here? Yi Ran responded. As the principal, your actions must be based on the interests of the Magic City High Martial Arts College. As a mentor of the Magic City High Martial Arts College, all I have to do is obey. Yi Ran's attitude was correct and there was nothing wrong with it. Bai Shu, who couldn't control Yi Ran, could only blow his snow-white beard helplessly. Bai Shu snapped his fingers. Yi Ran's hand suddenly appeared with a document. This is the result of the treatment of Han Kyun after your incident, take a closer look. Yi Ran took the plan and read it carefully. After a moment, Yi Ran frowned. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.